too.
We're live. Okay, everybody.
I'm froze.
Man, I don't think I'm going to have much help today because these guys' internet is in bad shape. But I got Chris
I know. And I got Starlink.
Watson, anecdote of a houndsman, and then I got our resident stomper, Benny Griffin. If you
Stomp.
give us a thumbs down or if you say anything we don't like,
Yeah.
Benny will hunt you down and stomp you. That's
Yep.
There you go.
That's it.
we we need some help. Of course, how many people we got in here right now? Oh, where's my mouse out?
10.
10. We need some help.
You know what, Brett? I
What?
can't comment on those comments. It's weird.
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think I can. We already
I
got
thought
a
you just
thumbs
struck me
down.
off.
I think somebody's joking.
Who did
with me.
that? Oh, he won. I think that's Louisiana hunting. Probably trying to get stomped.
There he goes.
What part of Louisiana? It's only a few hours from my house.
Benny used to have one of those hot rod Mustangs or something. He'll jump in that sucker and get there in a hurry. Didn't you have a Mustang, Benny? Mach 1 or something?
Well, my first wife did.
That's the same wife you still have.
Well, yeah, but you never know.
It's still his first
no matter
wife.
what, she's still your first wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not derogatory.
No,
Hey,
it's not.
what I was going to say, there's George, Louisiana hunting, Timothy Brink. Who else is here? There's some quiet people in here because there's 23 eyeballs looking at us right there. We need a name for this little podcast live thing we do. I mean, we don't have a name. We just call it Monday Night Live.
Benny.
And there's
Benny's stomping grounds.
Eli.
No,
Eli Robinson.
that's not going
And Benny's stomping grounds. Anyway, Chris, we decided that Chris needed to give us a trip report. And then I kind of had a long week last week, and I thought I'd share some stuff. So, Chris, where have you been? Where in the world has Chris Watson been?
I was 2 miles, 3 miles from the border trying to hunt lions. It's a good area. Jared, he's been on my podcast, Jared Fisher. He sent me his Onyx, and it looked like a Christmas tree. The whole mountain was covered in tracks and where he's caught lions. And of course, you get a client down there, and they all disappear. I don't know what happened. There's a lot of stuff were out of there. I didn't see a lot of Cudamunde tracks. I didn't see a lot of deer tracks. I talked to a lot of deer hunters. But we went down Sunday and stayed down there till Saturday. We camped. So, but and I didn't even see no undocumented humans. Eli, it was Eli.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
We were about to sick Benny on you.
Mm-hmm.
What mountain range were you in?
It's by Mount Washington, kind of over that way.
Have
It's
you
literally
been down,
right on the border.
Have you been down there, Benny?
I have not. I've driven through there, but that's all.
Yeah, I don't. There's a couple hunters over there that Jared knew, and then I think the Klomps kind of hunt back and forth over in that area. They hunt the Hawachucas and further east, right? That way.
I don't think they go to the I don't know for certain. I know they don't hunt as much country as they used to. They hunt different country just because they're busy ranching.
Yeah.
Well,
It's pretty country.
We hunted the Pelencios.
Yes.
Right, Benny?
Those are east.
Right there.
Yeah, We hunted the Palin seals right on the Arizona-New Mexico border.
That's pretty cool
Yeah,
country.
he's white.
It was nice. I mean,
Well,
is that still considered the Sonoran Desert, I guess?
that far over?
Well, no, I
I
don't
don't
think
think
it
it
is.
is.
What would you call it?
I don't know. I don't have that answer.
Because I know it's not the Chihuahuan Desert.
No, there's still water over there, so it's not the Chihuahuan.
Yeah.
I've got an executive secretary that's still on the clock, and she's going to look into that.
Is that the same? Is that the same as your first wife?
Yeah, that's his first wife.
Yeah, that's one and the same.
Well, Chris, we need to have more story than what you gave us.
Oh, well, we rode the first day, and it was me and my daughter Cody, and thought we'd just take off from camp, little simple ride, do a big circle, and go up a little canyon we camped in, and we got blocked in, so to come back, walk mules up, did a big circle. Dirty had started something. Him had 3 other dogs with him, and Dirty ended up he was headed to the Hauchucas. I was hoping it was that Jaguar he's chasing. What kind
Is that
of
where they had that picture of that Jaguar?
Yeah, on the Hauchucas. What kind of sucked about this trip is that the day before I left, I broke my Alpha 100, and I don't have no old shock collars no more that work. So I literally had no shock collars. I was using my 220, so I could get range on them, but I couldn't shock them unless they was within 60 to 80 yards. So if they did anything bad, they had about 60, 80 yards to do it before I could get them. And sometimes I could hold that antenna up on there and get service. But so we lost Dirty, Sydney, and Yucky. Yucky actually ended up back at camp because he did a huge circle. Sydney, we picked up, so we rode down a wash because the last place I had him was 1,000 yards west. So we rode down a wash and I found another lion track. So we just kind of took that wash down until there was a little bit of private property and a fence. We ended up finding Sydney, and then we didn't find Dirty till 3:30, 4 o'clock that afternoon. He did a big circle and went down, finally got some service on him and picked him up. So he ran long enough to where he wore out some of his pads on that back piece.
What do you think he was chasing?
I don't know, probably Cudamonde. The way he was running it.
Money.
Well, so Jared caught a Cudamonde second day. They did this big hike in, and he had the clients with him, and they walked a big mile or two, and it was a Cudamonde. So he kind of got razzed the whole time about Cudamondes. Every time we went out, I'd tell him, "Hey, good luck catching him another Cudamonde."
You've caught a few of those, haven't you, Benny?
No.
Really?
His dog.
Yeah.
His face is
really,
frozen, so I can't tell if he's joking or not.
His face is frozen.
No, my dogs have never caught a coatimundi. I shot one in the Burro Mountains when New Mexico said they didn't have any, but
now they don't, for real.
Well, they do.
I treed 2 in the Black Range, and no 3, excuse me, and then finally I got a big old, what do you call a male Cudamonde, a boar? Big old,
I think so,
boar running. And he was running across this open meadow, and man, Solo and them were right on his tail, and my shocker was working. Let me tell you what. And because they're dangerous. They can really.
They can be mean.
Yeah, they turn upside down and then claw the dog's throat out. From what I understand, is that true, Benny?
Yeah, last week John Klump those black dogs caught a coatimundi, and he jumped out of the tree and got in the dogs. He was a big old boar, and John thought that one dog was going to bleed to death. He
Yeah.
got him glued back together up there in the mountain, but it cut him. John said it cut him clear across his head, from one eye to the other, across the top of his head.
Mm. Well, that dog I got from you, Benny, and I named him Little Benny Pinto because he was pinto colored. And dad gum, he was making a good dog. I mean, I love the way he trailed. I mean, most of my dogs get a little babbly, and I don't like that. Or they'll bark going to another dog, and I don't like that at all. And he the only time he barked is when he found it somewhere else, and really like that. And but he got loose. I lived up there in those mountains, and he got loose, and I came back and I couldn't find him, and I attribute it to a coatimundi because of the way his throat was cut out. He was underneath the porch, and his throat was cut out. He was still alive when I got there, but time I got under there and got him out, he bled out. But
Yeah, I didn't run into none. Thank goodness.
Benny, your
They
turn.
can be pretty. The coatimundis can really. They, you saw it, Brett, down there in Arizona with John. That coatimundi didn't want to stay in the tree, and there were, what they had, we had 5 or 6 dogs there, and he just jumped out amongst them.
Yeah.
Sometimes you bump into them, and there's like a bunch of them. I've heard people running into big groups of them, where there's like 15 or 20 of them.
What do they call that when there's a
troop?
A troop. There you go. A troop of coatimundis. I'll be dang.
I got lucky. I didn't run into none. Well, I seen their tracks everywhere. I think he was chasing a bobcat. I'll be honest. The way they ran, it wasn't a lion.
Yeah.
And Dirty, if he loses it, he likes a cold trail, so could just keep going and going and going.
Was he too sore-footed to help you the rest of the trip, or?
No, I let him rest for a couple days and then put the B team down without shockers. It's a little bit tough. But Timothy already got collars ordered. I ordered 10 collars and a 300i.
Big time.
I'm messing around now. I'm gonna put 2 collars on each dog so I can double shock them. I mean, stimulate.
Just mild.
Johnny's working the night, Timothy. Yeah, Johnny's working the night. He sent a text saying he's working.
So, were you guiding down there, or?
I was helping Jared Fisher guide, so I was just basically running around looking for tracks, trying to pick something up, But we just through the whole time, when you go, usually when you go down south there, you'll find tracks all the time. I did find a bear track.
Wow.
Saturday, I'm like, and I had Dirty and everybody back out there, and I'm like, man, I'll run a bear, but he did good. I kind of told him no, and we walked down a wash. I was having Cody Lynn take me to the tops, and I drop off and walk down. But we did 3 big circles on our mules, and but I tell you, I didn't even run across any, southern humans coming across either.
Did you find their
and there was
backpacks and stuff like that and stashed?
It was all old stuff. But let me tell you something about hunting down there. The Border Patrol, they drag those rolls for you every 2 days. Yeah, so very nice.
Gee.
And they got, so my uncle was Border Patrol, and I think he was one of the original ones that said, why don't we draw, this was in the 90s. He says, why aren't you dragging roads? And he put together a tire drag, and they would drag in roads with tires. I should have took a picture of them drags now. They're ridiculous drags. Big mining tires with rebar on the back that just float like the fingers, and it just floats. So that tire comes through, flattens it, and those rebars just kind of float through there and make big rows. Well, not big, but it's really nice. So you can see, but I don't. And then I don't know if I talked to a hunter down there, and he's from Alaska, part of some bow hunting, the border bow hunting group. And they come down, and he said he found a Jaguar track last month down on the south side where I was hunting. So it makes me wonder if, I don't know, Benny, here's a question for Benny, is you think if a Jaguar moved in to a country, like, is he more dominant than anything else and he'll run all them lions out of there?
No, I don't think so.
Really?
And my question would be, and of course, when you ask questions, and everybody takes offense, but how do they know that it's a Jaguar track and not a lion track?
I could see one and not know it was one.
Well, I mean, I imagine if it was a really big cat print, you know what I mean? That's, I don't know how well the guy was educated on none of that, but their prints are a little bit bigger than a mountain lion, I imagine. Maybe that or the huge mountain lion.
Well, and anything's possible, and I'm not trying to discount the deal. I'm always suspicious because people talk a lot about whatever the latest talking point is. I mean, so there was a
Exactly.
Jaguar, and somebody photoshopped it and said it was downtown Bisbee, which was all a bunch of crap.
Oh,
They
yeah,
took
I
the
seen that.
out and they put it at a dirt. It was on the Sonoran Desert, and Bisbee's not on the Sonoran Desert. But
I
anyway,
think there's a swirl.
yeah, but I'm just suspicious because I don't know how many times I've gone to a mountain lion track from people that knew, and there's somebody that had their big dang yard dog out there looking around, or they let him out of the car to go pee. And Jaguar tracks, to my understanding, and I'm not an official Jaguar track connoisseur, but Jaguar tracks are more than a mountain lion. The whole entire track is more round. A lion, the toes are rounded but the pad is straight across. And I think the Jaguar pad's got to have a certain amount of straight across the heel as well, or you wouldn't see all three heel pad prints. But the
Yeah.
entire track is more uniformly round.
Hmm. Well,
Brett should have one ready and pulled up.
Well, I didn't know we were going to talk about Jaguars.
Wow.
I was expecting you to tell me about lions on the border.
I was
we have a
manifesting it.
What's that, Vinny?
The country down there around Douglas is a transition between the Sonoran and Chihuahuan Desert. So it has attributes of both, but it's neither.
And then when you get in the higher country, they're like in those Palencios. I mean, that's some beautiful country. I mean, and I can see why it would be loaded with lions. Because then, isn't the Sierra Madre right on the other side of the border?
Yeah, but yes, it is. And it goes real high. The Sierra Madre.
Yeah.
I mean, there's villages of Indians up there that don't have roads going to them.
Yeah. I've heard about
the
those.
native.
Now Benny's quiet. Yeah. We got a weird connection tonight. I mean, even mine's flickering a little bit.
I think we're raining over here and got clouds, so I don't know how bad that messes up a Starlink.
I don't know.
But you're hardwired.
Yeah, I got Comcast. It's cable or whatever you call it. I don't know. Here at my office, but I'm fixing to get everything moved out to the house and get Starlink. I hope within the next couple months. That way I won't be stuck in town until all hours of the night. But anyway, my mule died, Agnes, and I still have old Jet Johnson. He's too old, and Ruth, I could ride her. I just haven't. I've always packed her, and I just kind of dread going through the sweats with her.
Mm.
But I got on my buggy, and I went for 3 days, and I ran 2.5 tanks of fuel out of it, so probably over 100 and something miles, 150 miles or something, and I hit everywhere in this country that I assumed or that I found where lions cross. And I mean, we don't have a great lion population down here, but we have lions that come through here regularly. And I couldn't find nothing. And I didn't even see any deer. I mean, the countryside looks terrible right now. And I talked to a rancher up here that has some private land, and he gave me the combination to his gates. Had them all locked off, and I've hunted it a lot in the past, but it was with the prior owner. And this guy, he's from Texas. He's got some money, and he built fences and locked all the private pieces up, And but he gave me the combination, and I went through there, and nothing, no deer, nothing. And the old cows, I tell you what, they got their working clothes on. They look a little rough. But and I just got lazy, really. Cody King, our buddy, he was on some private land, a little inholding they have up there in the forest here above us, not an hour from the house or hour and a half from the house. And his brother was up there deer hunting and came across a lion track and sent it to Cody. Cody sent it to me, and Cody's what, 16, 18 hours away. He loaded up in his Jeep, whatever that thing is. What do you call those things? Anyway, and took off and drove all the way up here. Heck, I'm not driving an hour and a half to go hunt better country. So,
and he's driving 20 hours.
I know. So I kind of got mad at myself. Said, I got to do things a little bit better. You get lazy.
I tell you, hunting without shot callers for a week, it's tough. And I just listened to that part 2 of Dale Lee when he talks about him designing those shot collars. How you train 8 dogs in the time you train 1.
Well,
that's a fact.
How old? I mean, do you have a pretty young pack of dogs right now?
I had a couple year-and-a-half-olds.
Yeah.
I had a couple under year-olds, like year-olds I didn't even take out because there's no way I control them. But those 2 young ones, they've been on bear, and they've been on lion, but they're still, man, I haven't had shot collars, no lie, for a while. I just been dumping them with my old dogs, and Dirty's 10, and I forget he's 10, and he still goes, but oh man, I just gotta get on my training a little better. I gotta tighten up. Instead of just going out and letting them run wild. And when you're running bear, you just kind of let them run wild. And I might just let Cody Lynn, my daughter, take over the bear stuff, and I might just pull a few dogs aside and just run lion with them.
So. And if you decide to just run lion, how are you going to get them trained up for lion? What are you going to do?
Most of them have been on a couple lions, so I just got to find some tracks and line them out. You got to get them under some game, no matter good dog or bad dog. I just talked to Nicholas about this today. Even if you get a good dog from someone, if you don't run them, he ain't going to be a very good dog for long. They get lazy just like a human, I think.
And
so if
you will shock them off of bears. You're going to break them off of bears.
I'm not going to run them on bears. Yeah. I got a couple pups still, Ben and Bella, that hadn't been on no bear. Well, they've been on bear, but not enough. They're just on a couple bear this year, and they're a year old. They're just busting a year old. So I can easily, they've been on game. They know how to chase. They know how to tree. And they got good noses. So I just got to put their nose on a track and make them feel special.
Walk it out.
That's exactly. Oh, they might have to go do some cheater stuff, and run them in some snow just to get them under some game, or I don't know.
Benny, did you ever, when you were hunting lions, did you ever drag roads or anything?
No. Did I say that with malice? No.
Don't
The
don't
answer is
stomp
no.
don't stomp me for asking a
Yeah.
question.
Jeez, we're not as good as you, Benny. It's fine.
I didn't mean to insult
Some
you.
of us have to cheat. Some of us got to drag roads and
I know.
spray little lime sin on the back tails of our mules.
Benny had cell cameras all across the country. He knew where every lion crossed, and he'd get a picture of them.
The most I ever
That sure
got
helped.
help. The most I ever got help outside of just loading up the dogs and taking my chance in the country was a rancher called me one night in the Guadalupes and said, "Hey, his hired hand saw 2 half-grown lions and a female on the side of a hill." I said, "When?" He said, "An hour ago." I said, "Can he meet me there in the morning?" And he said, "Yeah." And that's the most help I'd ever had.
The rest was just riding big circles with the dogs on the ground.
That's exactly right. I've always said I should have been born 100 years ago. Now I don't really, I say that, and we all say that to some extent, but I would pick and choose what parts I did the old way and what parts I like
Yes.
today's comedy.
No, I agree.
But as far as following those dogs, I really thoroughly enjoyed doing it the hard way, the old way, just taking my chances and making big circles. But Brad, as much time as you spend out there by yourself making those circles, there's just something completely relaxing and fulfilling, and it's good for your soul to be out there with
Yeah.
your horse or your mule and a pack of dogs, and even if they're not barking, just to be out there out in the country.
No, you're exactly right. I spent a lot of time in the buggy this last week, and I have a nice buggy. I mean, it's not anything uncomfortable. It's got a cab on it and everything. And I'd always said that I think the the most productive way to hunt this desert would be out of a buggy driving, and driving these washes and these places where, a lion crosses. And even if you didn't even have a drag, if you could just rake out some places, just where that you can find a track. And I always thought to myself that if I ever did that, I'd find that lion track instead of just going out blind, on a mule and making circles. And then once you found that track and you kind of figured out where that lion was going, then go get your mule and start hunting that country. See if you can find out where he's at. But this last time I couldn't even find a track, and I didn't enjoy it. I can ride a mule and make big circles and do it day in and day out, and I don't ever get that feeling like I'm missing something. But in that buggy, driving that far for 3 days, I really felt like I was missing something. I didn't enjoy it. My neck hurt and my back hurt, and it wasn't near as enjoyable as being on a mule or horse, whatever, equine.
Well, I never wanted to be one of those guys that did it to produce a dead lion. I did it for the love of the hounds, and there's a big difference. And the guys that drag roads, they're looking for a dead lion. And that's not to say that a dead lion's not a lot of fun. Actually killing the lion is anticlimactic for me. the adrenaline's over. It's a dump. Now, seeing the dogs work and figuring out the, you learn a whole lot more about your quarry. In this case, the lion. You learn a lot more about the lion when you're following those dogs and making circles through the country and seeing what the lion does and how they live. And you'll stumble onto where they've eaten something in the past. And, all of that stuff, you're learning more and more about the lion, which I found interesting. Um, you don't get all of that when you drag a road or you race at 100 miles an hour through the country because your cell phone just sent you a picture of a lion crossing a wash. Or for me, it was more about the hound. Now, I love the fight with the lion. I've been in the tree with a lion. I've poked them out with a stick. I've stomped on their neck on the ground
There he
to
goes
protect my
stomping
dog.
again.
Yep.
But it's an adrenaline
What
rush. For me, the love of the hounds is the reason that I started to begin with.
what Benny, if you were going to start over again with new dogs and you were given or went out and bought you, 3 or 4 or 5 whatever well-bred young dogs, pups. Besides, I mean, you just start putting them on the ground, riding circles in the you know in lion country, or would you uh, would you let them run bobcats or foxes or anything, or would you just go out and try to find a lion track and walk it out?
I just try to put them on a lion track. My youngest son had beagles, and here, we live out in the country, and we didn't used to have anybody on our driveways 3/4 of a mile long, and we were the only ones out here. And as long as the dogs didn't go toward the highway, I just turned them loose during the day, all of the young dogs. And those young dogs would follow those beagles trailing rabbits all day long. I never worried about them chasing rabbits once we were out lion hunting. They learned to use their nose that way, my young dogs in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I with my other dogs, we just went looking for the lion tracks. But as far, I'm not a fan of letting them run fox, but I got a friend over there in the by Arabella that he let them run everything, and he still got dogs that turned out. So everybody has their own ways, I guess. But for me personally, I don't want them running fox. I don't want them running. They can mess around with a bobcat, but if they're not going to catch it, I'm not going to waste my time.
And those, I mean, I still got some younger dogs. They're not that young, but they still run a rabbit. They still chase a rabbit and trail a rabbit and open on it, and it can get a little irritating sometimes. But those older dogs, they quit it after a little while. They don't want to mess with that. If I could just quit them
They've
to
got
chasing fox, that'd be all right.
they've got to see game, and the only way to see game is to make big circles. In my view, is to make big circles and to do it consistently.
So, Chris, if your daughter's gonna take your bear hounds, and you're gonna start with just lion hounds. Where are you gonna go get your dogs? What are you gonna do? Same line of dogs
Um,
that you've always had?
yeah, I got my dogs. I just been running them on both, and I hunted bear more than lion. So I got to get back into the lion game more than anything. That's I'm actually there's my buddy has some property. My dad's buddy has property down there on the border that I'm trying to buy.
So,
That way I
are you
can
are
go down.
you are you gonna are you gonna chase snow at all? Are you gonna go run the snow
I
some?
probably will
Will you?
for the pups,
Yeah.
just to get them under some game. I think snow's great for pup training. I'm not a great guide. I don't. You know those people that came, they were from Texas, and it wasn't a big cat at all, and they were absolutely ecstatic for it. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
they were
y'all
happy
caught
to
y'all.
see a lion in a tree.
You didn't tell us the story about the lion. You told me earlier,
Oh,
but
so
you never shared
I
it.
did. So I so I caught a track and I tried to work it, and it had crossed the road, and it wasn't a great track. So me and my dogs worked it for I don't know about a half a mile, and they were just struggling. I'd have to get them to find it. I'd have to find it. It was just old. I told Jared, and not far up the road later on, the next day he found another track, the same line. So he started running it. Same thing, just it was in sand washes and it just wasn't super good terrain. Really dry down in the bottom. And the next day they broke down. Went out and rested. We was doing circles on our mules, me and my daughter. I just hit service and got a text that said, "Come save us." So we just finished our circle, went back to the truck, went and dropped mules and dogs off, and went and picked them up. Towed their little buggy out of there. So the next day, he's like, "I'm going back to that wash. I'm going back to that wash." I was a little bit hesitant about it, like, "Oh man," but we had tracks coming in and out of that area, and so I went up to the top, and I was going to try to cut a track. I walked down I just had Cody Lynn drop me off the top. And I would walk down those washes and those draws, cutting back and forth, trying to catch a track, and just free casting basically. And I got to a point and I caught him on the radio and he said, "Hey, we plugged one. Meet us back at camp." And he went up that wash, seen a big drag mark across, and they found a javelina with an arrow stuck in it. So someone whacked the javelina but didn't kill it all the way. And so I don't know if this lion killed it or what, but 200 yards away, he heard his dog. He looks over and they're just they're working it. And all of a sudden they bumped that line. That line was probably right there when they walked up, which goes to show you, I mean, even when you're walking, you're out there hunting and you don't have dogs, that lion was probably within 100 yards of that, you know. So all these deer hunters, they don't realize how many times I ask people, if you've hunted out and walked, you've probably been within 30 yards of a lion more than 10 times in your life. You just don't know it.
Mhm.
But that lion was sitting right there. They jump it and ran it about 200 yards. It was just a young cat, got up in a tree, and those Texans, I guess everything's big in Texas, but they don't need everything big in Arizona.
Wasn't
I
it
mean,
was a it
personally,
was a Tom
I
though.
it was a Tom. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. It was a Tom. It was a legal cat. It wasn't like it was a kitten sucking on mom, but it was, it wasn't nothing you want to brag about. But he was happy. They were cutting it up and eating it before I
Oh,
even got
really?
out of there. So,
Did you get
oh
did you
yeah,
get to eat some of it?
No, you know what? It was gonna rain. It was Saturday, so me and Cody went and packed up and got out of there. But shoot, I made them. So here's what really boggles me. I'm talking about jarred meat. And they're like, "Jarred, what are you talking about jarred?" I'm like, "I don't know, canned, glasses, canned meat." I call it bottled, actually. I bottle my meat all the time. And Jared had said, "Hey, watch this guy because he has stew from 2010." Well, they didn't comprehend bottling, jarring, canning. They thought I had stew in a Ziploc bag I had in my freezer for 10 or 12 years. I don't know because they freeze everything. And these guys have ranches, high fence ranches with all those access deer. And if they want to go plug one, they go plug one. So I, the first night I made them some tacos, some bear meat tacos, just dirty, greasy tacos. And it was from 2010, but I didn't tell them that until they were done. And next day, matter of fact, it's like, yeah, I'd never thought to eat meat, jarred that long. And I said, well, you did last night from 2010. He's like, man, I would have never done it. And then I made tamales a couple days later out there and from deer from 2012. So bottle your meat, jar it, whatever you call it. I
Yeah.
call it bottling.
Used to do it all.
No,
I mean,
yeah.
my mom
Oh,
always canned everything. We called it canned.
it lasts. It lasts. I've had meat from. I think I'm finished with my 2008, and those guys were like, I said, "Well, I got some newer meat," and he goes, "What is it? 2015?" I said, "You're probably right." you know. But I tell you, I have stew from 2010, deer or elk or bear, and it's just phenomenal flavor. It's like a
Where
wine, I guess. I don't know, it just ages.
where did y'all stay when you were down? Did you set up a wall tent or?
I had my 1962 fire retardant Coleman tent. You know those old square tents that just have the outside frame. They got it for me for Father's Day for $50, and I didn't wear a shirt down there. All them guys, everybody's all bundled
You
up, and
you didn't wear a
I don't
shirt.
hardly wear or a sweater. I wear a shirt, t-shirt all the time. They
Thought
didn't
you
pay
were,
me that much.
thought you were running
they
around like
didn't pay.
Tarzan.
They didn't pay me that much. But you know what I mean. So, but we just stayed in that little wall tent deal, and I didn't want to leave my mules, and they didn't. They camped like 300 yards away from the corrals, and I said, "Well, why didn't you camp right there?" He goes, "I didn't think you get your trailer in there," but I did. I got my trailer in there, and I got it up by the corrals, and they're like, "We have no clue how you did that." And so I had my dogs close to my tent. I had my mules right behind my tent because I didn't want them, down there. I don't know, drug runner come through. I mean, I'm close enough to the border. When you're only 2-3 miles from the border, those guys aren't tired yet, and they don't want to mess with you. The drug runners won't mess with you. The workers that come across just to get some work or EBT or whatever, they don't want to mess with you. They don't want to. They don't want confrontation. You know. So they know you're just there hunting or you're running around, but the border patrol was there on their horses too. So, and there's sensors everywhere. My uncle used to set those sensors up, so when you're walking or riding through, it'll send a signal and tell you somebody's right there.
Yeah,
So
I've tripped those
we
here.
would, yeah, we would ride around and get up on a hill on the mules, and you'll see that border patrol agent down there in the bottom. He's glassing us.
Yeah.
Yep. So we just, it's us.
Benny's
So
frozen. I'm worried about him over there. He's
I
just
know.
sitting there glaring at
Maybe he's
me.
not frozen. I know. I'm looking away from the
You know,
from the
his
screen.
eyes aren't blinking.
Can you
He's
hear
got
us,
that.
Benny? Maybe he just died like that.
He just- well,
Maybe his wife just killed him right there.
his
first
first
wife.
wife.
I think we lost Benny, and it's just
Benny,
frozen.
are you okay? We lost
Yeah.
him, but he's still here.
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
get rid
wish
of
you had
him,
a
and maybe he
filter.
can come back.
I wish you had a filter we could have drew on his face or something.
I got to film that. He's just in there glaring at me.
I know. I was like, geez, if you don't like the story, tell me. I'll quit.
So,
No.
was there public corrals there that you could just keep your mules in?
No, it's all rancher stuff. It's all rancher stuff. And the good thing about Onyx, which you could probably segue into playing your little Onyx thing, but the good thing about Onyx is it showed all the corrals around there. But I did find a cool old adobe house. It wouldn't take much just to clean that up a little bit. And you know how in Alaska they have those little houses all over the place you could just stay in? There's a couple around here in Arizona. Same thing. You could do that too. But
Hey, look at who just showed up.
I know, Benny, you were froze solid. We thought you died.
Well, I took
And you
that
had
opportunity to get a candy bar and scratch my butt, and I got a lot of water down, and nobody knew it.
We don't need all that.
Benny froze it on purpose.
Look who's back.
Purpose. Nick, who is this?
Hey, everybody.
Who is that?
What's happening?
Nicholas. I
no
thought
one
he
even
was.
knows who this is.
I thought-
Probably.
I thought he was thrown in jail or something. We hadn't heard from him in so long.
No, I told them all you guys hated him, so I keep him all to myself.
Can you hear me okay?
So,
Yeah, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
he's hunting
Okay,
right
cool.
now.
Look at the raindrops on the windshield or the window.
Oh,
Is it
it's
raining?
nasty today, man.
It's raining right now
Yeah.
where I'm at. Hey, you can't
Yeah,
catch
it's freaking
bobcat in the
nasty
parking
today.
lot.
I'm in the parking lot of the Spirit Mountain Casino. All my Oregon friends will know exactly where that is.
You been running bobcats?
I've been trying to. I'll be honest, I've had a very, very extremely challenging season so far. But thank God, I think all that's about to turn around because I actually got myself a new pup trainer yesterday.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so I got a 10-year-old blue tick who's been on, just tons and tons of bobcats. So thanks to
Cool.
my good buddy who hooked me up with him. So yeah, hoping to get these younger blue dogs and my one walker lined out on some cats for the last month and a half of season. So yeah, pretty
How,
excited about all that.
how do you guys hunt those cats up there? Do you rig, drive roads for snow, or?
Well, where I hunt at least, the snow is really, really inconsistent. So we can't rely on the snow really. So most everyone is rigging for bobcats. So um,
Do
yeah,
you,
driving around with them up on the dog box and waiting for them to strike. We didn't run anything today. Got a handful of good strikes, but like it's, I don't know, not good conditions. It's dumping rain, and then up where I was, it's mixed snow and bare ground. So it was pretty rough still. But
Benny? Do you know Nicholas?
I don't.
You started coming on after Nicholas disappeared on us.
He wrote
Hi,
a
Benny.
book. Oh, throw out that.
Where's your book at?
He even has an audio
Oh yeah.
version of it.
Well, that's why I had to kind of pull out of the lives for a while because I had too many projects going on at the same time, and I was failing miserably at all of them. So
Welcome to
yeah,
my
I
world.
finally got my audiobook finished. Cat Dog Chronicles, the audiobook is now live on Amazon. So
Cool.
for all my friends who don't know how to read or don't like reading or most commonly don't have the time to read, which is where I'm at. Yeah, got you covered. You can listen to me read it to you.
Uh,
Yep.
Benny, he's our technical advisor.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Yes.
high
There's
tech
another.
cat
There's
hunter.
another thing. There's another thing he was talking about. I don't know if you want to talk about it now, but he has a leash he's been making.
Oh yeah,
Tell
so
us
I've
about
been
that.
I've been deep diving into ham radio very, very intensely. It just scratches all my nerd itches, if you know what I mean. And I've been really having a lot of fun like building different antennas for different radio applications. And last week we actually got a huge blizzard come in and totally snowed us in. We had about an inch of ice with about 4 inches of snow on top. We couldn't go anywhere. It was terrible. So I got pretty bored, and I created a leash, like a dog leash, like a tree lead, that is also a radio antenna that you can hook up to your Alpha. I don't have it with me, but basically I tied. I don't know if Missy's in the chat, but I made her
She
a
is.
handful of leashes for her beagles, out of paracord. They're really cool, and so basically I tied I tied one of those in a very specific way to create a gap. So I don't know where my fingers are. It's about that wide, so it's
They're on
about
the
an
end of
inch
your
and a
hand.
half wide, and I ran some, it's like 26 gauge wire up the length of the leash, and the type of antenna is called a J pole. So it, like, if you were to draw it on a piece of paper, it looks like the letter J. But it's a full half wave antenna, so you get more gain, and I'm gonna keep it in my backpack as like if I'm way down in a canyon somewhere and I really need to get a signal on my dogs, I can throw that up into a tree and hook my Alpha up to it and get a way better signal on my dogs. So
This
yeah,
guy.
I'm
This
working
is
on
why
making a
we keep
video
him
about
around.
that.
See, you need to make me a pair of reins for my mule like that.
But they have a cord in
You
it.
gotta talk to
I just
Chris
plug
about
it
that.
in.
He's got a video about that.
Yeah,
I'll be
that's.
damned.
I think
Randy, you have
that's neat too. I know.
So are you going to
orders.
market
Yeah,
this
I'm
leash?
gonna no, because it takes so incredibly long to tie those stupid things. Yeah, there's no way I'd have to I value my time a little bit. Um I don't know. It takes me probably, I don't know, 8 hours, maybe, well, maybe not. I've gotten faster at it, but I can tie one of those leads in like 5 hours. But it's
Oof.
still like, you know, the
Might be
hardest
able.
part is you have to pay attention to what you're doing. If you mess it up, you got to untie it and then redo it. So, yeah, they're pretty time consuming, but they're cool.
The high-tech
This is
world
how
of the
Tritronics.
houndsman.
Hey Brett, this is how Tritronics started.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yep.
that's Dale
Didn't-
Lee said.
Yeah, didn't they buy? Didn't Tritronics buy all of Dale Lee stuff at an auction and take off from there?
No, no.
Really?
Dale took a young man from Kansas or Missouri or somewhere hunting, and he was one of these guys that was into all the electronics and all of that. And so Dale was talking about how it'd be good if he could get a collar that would shock those dogs
Oh.
remotely from a distance.
Just lost
And
Nicholas.
yeah. And so this every year this young man would come back hunting, and he'd work on the collar until they got it fixed. They got it working, and then it was too big of a deal for Dale, and that's where Tritronics came in. Dale sold Tritronics everything to do with it, and as long as Dale was alive, any collar that they went back to Dale Lee, Tritronics worked on them for free.
Wow,
But
I didn't
they
know
didn't
that.
buy it in an auction. Yeah, Dale marketed it directly to Tritronics.
Nice.
Nicholas, what elevation
had
is the
no
snow
idea.
in the coastal range?
I was up at 2,000 feet, so it's still pretty high, but we've got a lot of rain and it's been warmer the last week, so it is melting, but yeah, there's still places where it's kind of bad.
2,000
I had no
feet.
idea
That
about
sounds
that
low.
Tritronics. I need to learn more about that. That's really interesting.
Cool. Well, I got a question. Chris, you run that Facebook page, Arizona Houndsman. Is that right?
Oh, man, yes, I do. And this week was just
Is that new?
wonderful.
What's going on
No,
with all the
had it.
drama on that?
Oh, I've had it for a couple years, and it's a real quiet one. There's not many people here on it. I don't even know how many I have. Maybe a couple thousand, if that. And it's just kind of quiet. It ain't like all these other ones that have like 15,000 people, and if someone farts, it's the wrong smell. So there was just a little bit of drama that went on between two houndsmen, and I was getting texts every time I hit service. I get a text, even on the Navajo reservation. The guy says, "What is this about?" I'm all, "What are you talking about?" So I had to find service and get online, and there was just a big. There was a beef already from a couple years ago. And one of the guys
there's some history to
posted
it.
something. Yes, one of the guys. It's kind of like you're a fake. A couple older guys. So I text one of the guys. I'm like, "Yeah, what is this?" Because I don't talk to the other one, and he's like, "Man, he goes through the deal, and then the one removes the post, I think, from his page. He posted it on his page. So the other one just posts 4 letters on Arizona Houndsman, and it just blew up. I mean, they're like, you guys need to meet somewhere and fight, and we're gonna have midget fighting with it or little
One
people fighting. We're gonna
one of them
oh, it
needed
just
stomped.
yes. I figured I'd just get Benny over there to referee, and whoever wins gets stomped. Either way, you're gonna lose.
I tell you what, though, it was good reading. I enjoyed it. It was like I'm like that little meme they had of the guy eating popcorn. I was just like that,
Oh,
eating popcorn, reading, saying,
when it
"Who's
when
going to win
that
this
meme
argument?"
pops up, yes, when that meme pops up, you know it's gonna keep going, and it's still going. I just seen a post like I'm like, what is this junior high? The one. There we go. There we go. Benny pulled his spear out. For those of you who don't are listening on a podcast, Benny has his Shaka Zulu
Oh,
spear or
dang.
whatever that is. I don't know what
Oh,
it is.
man, I'm terrible at this.
It's like a
Speaking of
Maasai
this,
warrior spear.
this live is brought to you by W Hunting Supply. I forget. I'm sorry. I'm not a very good salesman. But they are helping us
You
up.
know,
Look at that's a perfect picture of Benny right
That's
there.
cool.
right there. Yeah. You're gonna have to screenshot
Is
that,
that
and we'll
re-
make
is
that
that like
our.
This spear came from Swaziland, the southeast corner or part of the whole continent in Africa. And I have decided that from this day forward, this is the cure all to keyboard warrior jerks.
Amen, brother.
Wayne. Yep. Wayne
That's
Bisbee
really
said we should
cool.
just
How
call
did
this.
you get that from
We should.
Swaziland?
The stomping
What's
grounds.
that?
Yeah.
We're gonna call our little podcast, our live show, the stomping grounds
We'll have that picture of Benny as the
with
thumbnail.
that spear.
Yeah. Yep. How'd you get it, Benny? How'd you get it over here?
I've been to,
Or
I've
did
been
you
to
go there?
Swaziland 4 times.
Oh.
Yeah, I went there 4 times.
You go on a mission, don't you?
That's super cool.
Yeah, we were
He's
over
looking for
there.
his second
The
wife.
first trip we, huh?
Looking for your second wife.
That's not how I got my first wife. No. My first wife came from Tolleson, Arizona. That actually is a marriage spear, but it's never had any issues with married people, so we can use it, let it double as keyboard warrior sabotage.
Benny has to hold that spear when his wife
Yeah.
comes after him for being a dummy sometimes.
No, yeah. So, what is it with the keyboard warriors, as you say? I mean, I've had years ago. I mean, there was a guy. Matter of fact, it was one of the guys that commented on that post too. I couldn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't even know what I said. I don't even know what it was about. And this was on one of those private boards where, you have to be approved to get on it and everything. They have those on Facebook. And man, this guy he went off on me. And of course I don't respond to stuff like that. There's just no sense in it. It's just a waste of your time. Just usually I put just a little laughing out loud thing. Say sorry, buddy. Because it's kind of foolish. I mean, and it makes you look like an idiot for the most part.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those guys on there that there's certain people on the internet, and I have that page, and I'm not very good I don't manage it very much. I ended up putting a post on there that said, "I'm not your guys' babysitter," like, because sometimes people come to me like, "Hey, you need to kick this guy off because he blew his nose and I don't like the color of his boogers." I'm like, this ain't preschool. Like, I don't care. And if you're threatening somebody, I'm going to kill your kids or your wife or whatever. Okay. You're done. You're going to go away. We don't need that. But it's not a very big hound site. Some people post some stuff for sale. Some people post some memes. And it just got crazy. And then I see more memes coming out from one of the guys picture of a lion that said haters will hate. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, this is just, it's high school stuff, passing notes. Look, that guy's a dummy. Don't wipe his butt or whatever they talk about. These are grown men, you know?
There's a lot of,
So,
I think, I mean, a lot of competition and jealousy sometimes
mhm.
within the hound world that
Oh, it's,
you kind of gotta
yes.
gotta rise above, especially I don't know, and Facebook just brings that out, in people. You
Well,
can
it's just like messaging, it gets misconstrued. So
exactly.
when you get in the messenger or when you're texting, if I tell you over there, hey, I the one guy actually made a post. We were talking about it, and he said, "I hope that's a big guy holding that cat." And the guy's like, "Yeah, he's 6'4". Remember? I think we was talking about it. And
No, I don't
you know,
remember, but
but he was might have been thinking he was calling him a small cat, and the guy, you know what I mean? So it gets misconstrued. Just like when you're texting, sometimes and I, when people text me trouble, I just call them,
yeah,
and if they don't
well,
answer, most of the time it's because they're full of crap.
mhm,
But I'm the guy that's like, here's where I'm camped. If you want to come talk to me, or here's where I live, or I'll meet you somewhere. So,
yeah,
but
Benny's like
there's
that too.
people on there
I
that
was
just
gonna say,
cause, yeah, they'll
I
just
I was
stomp you.
gonna say that's just Facebook in general. Like with it, and it's any hobby group you go into is
Oh,
like that.
Is it?
Like I've
yeah,
been dabbling in some of the ham radio Facebook groups,
yep.
and it's the same kind of stuff. Like
It's all drama.
I don't get it, but I'm sure you probably meet these people in real life. You probably be just fine. You
Yeah,
probably have a
exactly.
normal conversation. But I don't know. Yeah, people get on the internet and they start acting like little kids. It's weird. Mean
Well,
little kids.
there's the one guy actually. This all kind of started is he posted about doing a hunt for the Colorado thing. Uh, Dang it, what's that website? Colorado for
Oh yeah, where they're trying to keep their lion hunting.
and then there's other people get on there like that's worthless. You're wasting your time. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, you know what? And
No, I think
and
every little bit
honestly,
helps.
the guy stated his opinion, and the guy did ask an opinion, and he said, "Hey, this is my opinion. If don't ask opinion, but
Yeah.
you know, to give up to say you're not going to win, it'd be different because if the guy is trying to legalize going out of the country to hunt, or then all of a sudden it's a big deal. Or if they said no more archery hunting because it's inhumane, then it's a big deal to some of these other guys. But it. I mean, we go round and round about this all the time that everybody should get together, and it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The hound guys can't even get together, and then on all those posts, you see people saying this is why houndsmen look bad. But Nicholas is right. Go to the deer hunting post or Facebook pages. Go to the yard sale Facebook pages. You know what I mean? Go to marketplace. Like, it's all
Go to a
unsocialized
long range
social
shooting
media.
forum.
Oh, oh, the 6'5". Go in there and say you killed something with 6'5" Creedmoor. See how many comments you get. Horrible.
I
You
wonder
have to work
I
it.
wonder what it is about human psychology that brings that out in a internet like that or Facebook or whatever. I mean, and I make my YouTube videos and I get a lot of comments and I get a lot of bad comments too that I have to kind of go through. I mean, most of them, if they're real bad, then I can erase them. But then the other ones I just put laughing out
Yeah.
loud or tell them go somewhere else. You don't have to watch my stuff. You're not forced to sit down and
Louisiana
watch it.
hunting. Louisiana hunting said you ought to work in law enforcement. We get all the time that people crying about what someone else said on Facebook. Let me tell you a story about MySpace. I got took to court for MySpace because I was talking crap on MySpace, and a lady, it was my friend's ex-wife, his first wife, and I literally is all I said is I I didn't say no names. I just said, I talked about a pill popping whore, and she assumed it was her and drugged me to court. I had to go to court. She printed out all my MySpace. And I'm a very vague person when it comes to talking crap. Because I want, you go on Facebook right now and say, I can't believe you did this to me. I thought you was a friend. See how many texts you get. And those people who text you or message you are the ones that know that they're not that good of a friend. You want to find out who your bad friends are? Put a vague post on your Facebook.
Look at this. Now, hey, guys, start talking about hounds and hunting
Oh,
lions.
this is all about hounds.
Who is
This
this?
is what started the conversation.
I need to
Susan Stone.
send her a link so she can come on.
Susan Stone. Who are you, Susan Stone? We hadn't had her. I haven't seen her before.
I thought
She a
she might have
newbie?
been. Last time we had a comment like that, it was
Is that
someone trying to get to know Cody King better, and you knew her.
Oh yeah, that was
She was your
Molly.
partner. Something.
Susan Stone. Start talking about hounds and hunting lions.
Well,
Well,
we talk about
hunted lions
everything.
all week.
I
Yeah,
don't want to.
we bounce. We
I-
bounce all over.
Like I said, I hate to see people argue like that on Facebook. I just don't like it. I mean, but it happens. It happens.
Yep.
What do you think,
Susan,
Benny?
that's the
Yeah,
hound
I can see
world.
you're in deep thought down there in that bottom corner.
Oh,
Well, Nicholas, do you have a pencil and paper?
Who?
You.
Nicholas,
Do I know who?
pencil and paper?
Do you have a pencil
You
and
have.
Do you
paper?
have it?
No.
He's got a photographic memory. Just
I have a notepad. I have another phone I can
Yeah.
type on though. Why?
2 phones?
Okay. This
Yeah, I
is
got
my
2 phones
son's
because I'm cool.
radio deal. You guys would get along. He's over in Moab. KJ7V2.
Okay, Roger. I will look him up.
there it
Joshua.
goes.
What is that?
Speaking that lingo. It's ham radio stuff.
Oh,
That's his call number.
Yeah, I'm KK7KFT. Oh,
Wayne
he's frozen.
Bisbee. I have a lion tag for Idaho if anyone wants to run along.
It's too
Yeah, that's
cold.
not that far away.
It's cold. It's cold up there. That's why I went south Arizona. Well, it's sure pretty country down there, though. It really is. There's a lot of lions down there. That whole south border.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a reason why all those good lion hounds come from southern Arizona. I mean, it's good stuff. Good country.
It's dry ground,
Dry ground, a lot of lions. I mean, you have the opportunity to
But
get
if you
along
make
enough game.
big circles in there, you're gonna. I mean, even if you just got dogs that don't know nothing, you can trash break them, and when you do those big circles in there, you're gonna catch something. It'll be the right thing the first few times, but if you have collars that actually shock, which I did not.
All right. What else do we got, guys? We got reprimanded for talking about Facebook from someone we don't even know.
We had to get it. We had to get it in the open, though. It was really a funny deal, and everybody wants to see him fight now.
Well, I just brought it up
Meet
because
somewhere and
Chris
fight.
was right in the middle of it.
And I had no service, so I hit service and it just beep 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 beep. What is this about? What is this about? What is it? I'm like, what are you talking about? So I had to, and then the other guy was like, Arizona houndsmen put up with this. I'm out of here. I'm like, you don't have to announce you're leaving. Just leave. I'm -1 member. It's not like they all pay me $1 a month. If they did, then I would run around with no shirt out camping, I guess. I don't know. You know,
Well,
draw a
Brett,
statement.
Yeah, I heard the part about no
what,
shirt. I was listening when I was driving over here. I'd love to see that. You know, you need to make the anecdote of a houndsman calendar, Chris.
Ooh,
That'll sell.
I have Benny on. Benny is going to be
Maybe
January,
W can sell
start of
that
the
on their
year.
website.
Benny will just be in his overalls and his spear.
That's right.
That's it. You know, I
Brett,
manifested the whole time a Jaguar. That's what I manifested. I was down there. I wanted to just tree a Jaguar so I could get a picture of it. That was it. But it didn't happen.
well, we could introduce you to somebody that has a picture.
A couple guys down
Hey,
there
we know
probably
two
have a
people.
picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of them guys.
Brett, how are you coming for your video stuff?
For you mean for when we went down there? What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Yes, when we were there.
I'm working on that video. It seems like the longer I go and the harder that video editing has become for me. It just I get so slow. And the more I learn on how to make it better, it's just getting harder and more time consuming. But no, it'll be good. We've got some really good video and conversation talking to John Clump at the fire when we first got there. Kind of pretty amazing that his family has been down in that country for over 100 years. They were there prior to Arizona being a state. So that was real interesting listening to him talk about that. And then of course, we sat there and y'all slept in an old worn out rat infested house, and I had my tent, my rooftop tent I stay in, and we ate out of one frying pan, of course, and that was pretty cool, and that's also what I said in the video. We ate one frying pan, had no utensils, and had no plates and nothing. It was probably the best food I ever ate. It was really good. Used mineral block as a seasoning. He just went over there to a mineral block in the back of his truck and cut some off.
Get
And
your
he was,
probiotics in that way too, right?
and
I
seasoned.
see you guys just sitting around the fire, all just picking out of the same pan with a stick.
Well, we had tortillas, so we folded it up in a
Oh,
tortilla.
there you go.
And then I rode some good country. The equine I was on was had short ears. I was used to some longer ears than that, but he was a good one. And then we got to go see Warner Glen, which was amazing for me. I got to what I like. I mean, I got to sit down and talk lion hunting and hounds with Warner Glen and Benny and Kelly, Warner's daughter. And we sat there and we talked about quite a few things. And then we got to go out and go through Warner's kennels and look at all his dogs. And of course, that's something I was really curious about, asking him about the dogs. And, and he'd say different things about how old they were, where he thought they, how good each dog was and everything. It was pretty interesting.
You talking about my soap picture?
Yeah, your soap ad. Classic.
Oh, yeah. Hasn't played that one.
Warner's his saddle house was really interesting to me, but I always enjoy those old saddle houses on those ranches that have been there for decades.
I think I played this before, but I'll play it again. That's not it. Sorry, guys. I'll go back to camera. I thought I had it right here. I made a teaser video about it.
Oh, Warner Glen. You
Yeah.
know, and that I was gonna say that place has been there a while, like a while. Marvin, right? His dad settled there, so that's all the same stuff. Has there been any new construction there, or is it all just old house?
Well, they've
No,
added to it.
the place that his dad was at is next. It's right there. I think they touched the country, but it's not right there. That the Buckhorn is where his dad was at, and I
Gotcha.
think Warner then bought the Malpai where he is now. And then Kelly and her daughter Mackenzie have bought another ranch that touched the Buckhorn on the other side.
So is Marvin's house still around? Like, is that original dwelling still around?
Yes, it's on the Buckhorn.
That'd be cool to check out. What is it? Is it just a
I
as far
don't
as what?
know. On on when Kelly was for Mackenzie was on the Cowboy Channel during the rodeo, then during the NFR, they always had a video of some old pins and stuff and buildings. And I told them, I said, I want to go see that. And they said that that was at the Buckhorn. And they said next time I was in the country, they'd take me over there and show me. So I'm hoping this next week I get to go see.
Oh, that's
Or
right.
this week. Yeah, like
So is there
maybe
is there
tomorrow.
people still is there still people living in it, or is it just kind of a memorial
I
type
think
place now?
they've got they've got two guys that work for them full time and one guy that's part time. And so I think the full time guys probably live. Brent, when we were down there, we saw people coming by pulling trailers and stuff, and they weren't all the Walmart guys and all of that. I think some of that might have been some of Warner's crew.
Warner's got a place in his house is just like a museum. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's neat.
Did you get some of that
How
on
old is
video?
Warner
Yeah,
Glenn?
87?
Warner is 80. Yeah, 87.
Still climbing on a mule.
Yeah, he's amazing, amazing man. He's fun
That's
to talk to.
impressive.
Fun to
Well, he
talk
just
to.
refuses to get old, I think is what it is. You think you're old, you're going to get old. You just keep going, I guess. Young at heart.
Yeah, I mean, you always
And he had it.
when you're like us and always dreamed of hunting lions and then hunting lions the way we do. And all you've heard of, I mean, you hear stories about Warner Glenn, and he's right up there with Dale Lee and everybody.
I think he's probably one of the most modern out of the Dell. You know what I mean? Like he's I guess your next century houndsman, rather than Ben Lilly and Dell Lee and all them guys.
Yeah, and I mean, but then you got John Clump. I mean, he like the guy down in Mexico, what's his name? Benny, do you remember his name?
Oh,
To-
Who?
Tony
Tony Rivera.
Tony Rivera's.
Yeah. I got to talk to him quite a bit on the phone the other day. We're trying to figure out how, when and how I could get down there to talk to him. And what he is talking about is he loved to buy hounds from John Clump. He said he had some of the best hounds that he ever got from anyone. He got from John.
Where does John's hounds come from?
I
Him?
don't know because John's always gone through a lot of dogs. He's always trained dogs, and if he got a good one that was worth a lot of money, he sold it. and he still
Mm.
produced game at the same time.
How many dogs does he run? Does he have a big old pack, or
When we were there, we only
Right
had what,
now,
like
has he
3 or
got
4 dogs.
so he like
his?
because don't Glenn has a big old Glenn has what 20 dogs, maybe more, or is he down like 16?
No, he's probably got 10 dogs. Don't you think, Brett?
Yeah,
Wow.
something.
Warner used to have a lot of dogs, right?
I wish
Didn't
I
he
could
used to have a lot
find
of
that.
dogs?
Oh
I was
yeah,
trying
I
to
mean he
find
I've
still
something.
never
has quite a
seen him.
few.
Yeah, but he's got dogs that he's officially retired as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They're
called
hunting right
Question.
now. I don't know.
that's called wetback
I don't know if
hound.
they're hunting.
Yeah.
What's it called?
Wetback
It's
hound.
called what? You go on YouTube and you can find it.
Yeah.
I just watched it
Yeah,
last month.
Cool name. Disney has come a long
It's
ways.
Yeah,
very,
well.
very long
They
way.
should remake that.
Very long way.
They should do the new animated version of that. Be great.
They have to change
Mike
the name
Gray.
on it.
Mike Gray had a question. Rig training. Mind explaining the process.
Who's
How
a
do you
rig
rig
trainer?
train?
Man,
I'll tell you what I'm doing. I got an old rig dog that I'm just throwing my young dogs up there with. And yeah, they're I mean, literally today, I feel like they made progress. You know, I only got a handful of strikes, but towards the end, the other dogs were, the younger dogs were starting to be like, oh, okay, he's smelling that and he's barking. Okay, I should bark too. To me, it's just like they're just learning from the other dogs. Like, I don't know how you would do it any other way than that. I've tried, and I don't get it.
do you
We
your young dogs if they rig off game, do you reprimand them on the rig, or do you get them off the rig and
I
reprimand
learned my
them?
lesson. I learned my lesson doing that with my first dog, Cooley, who I still have, and she will not bark from the top of the dog box because I broke her. I was too
Yeah.
heavy with the e-collar with elk. So one day it's burned into my memory, and it's like I really regret it now, but I didn't know any better. One day I bumped into a herd of about 40 elk on the road, and I was like, oh, perfect. I'm gonna break her off these dang elk. So I just followed that herd down the road, and she was barking at them, and I was hammering the button. And since that day, she will not bark on that box. So I learned my lesson. Now I stop, let them go chase the crap, and then I fry them.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The reason I ask is I had a disagreement with a guy one time, and because he said he would shock them on the rig, and I would think, they, I could see where you could ruin a dog, like you said, from ever barking or rigging on anything.
a young dog,
So
I'd
this is
imagine.
my
I think if you
second
had
pup. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, a young dog that don't know what rigging is or is learning, I bet you could. And I think an older dog that if you already like Yucky, he rigs bear, but he also likes to see them deer and kind of blow up. So I'll shock him off those deer if he sees them. If we see them, But he's already rigged bear. He already knows he can rig a bear and get let down. You know, but a young dog, I agree too. You let him down, let him chase him, let him get all happy, and then buzz him, let him run back. So, but some guys won't even shock him in the box. I try not to shock them young at all. The only time I shock young is if I have a stubborn dog that won't come back to me, and I'll put him on a rope. And you always tone him, but I don't hit him. I don't bury him. I don't smoke him. I'm real light. Like, hey, come back. And then once I get that, I get them. You just tone them and they come back. You got to be careful on the rig with young ones. Period. Shocking young ones. Period.
Yeah, I agree with what Tim Brink just said in the chat that not all dogs make strike dogs. I think that's really true.
Yeah.
So this this old blue tick I just got, his previous owner said, he might be a little bit babbly or a little mouthy when you're just cruising around. He might be smelling other stuff. Just because he barks at it doesn't mean he wants to go chase it. And I was thinking about that today. My last pup trainer that I had, Whiskey, which is basically what my whole book is about. It's about her. She was like that too. Like, she was just like a mouthier dog in general. And I feel like maybe the mouthier dogs make better rig dogs. And then for me, I know the next little while I'm gonna be having to learn like this dog's like strike language. You know what I mean? Like knowing when he's like, oh, that's a cat, or oh, he's just all hopped up on Mountain Dew and super excited, and he wants to, he's barking a little bit. So it's just going to be a learning experience. But yeah, like my walker Rue, I have never shocked him when he's been up on the box. But he's naturally very quiet dog. Like he won't bark until they got it jumped. Like, he doesn't bark on a cold track at all. So it's like, I think maybe he'll pick it up. Maybe he'll pick up rigging. What I do is, I watch my dogs on a camera. So I have a camera on top of my truck pointed straight back at my rig box. And you can tell when they're excited. You can tell when they'll start winding the air, and they'll start, start running around the top of the box. And I feel like that's almost, I call it like a body language strike. It's not he's not necessarily barking. He's still indicating that there's a scent there. So
Yeah, when I watch my videos when I have that rig cam on, you'll see Dirty just back and forth, like really trying to smell it.
And you guys
as far
see
as rig training,
whoa.
As far
it's
as
a
rig
dark
training, well, like I used to hang a coon in a tree, drag it across the road and hang it in the tree and drive by. And I always had the one that barked, and when they did, you kind of praise them and then let them down and place the coon. So I'm sure there's a lot of other ways. It's just how I did it.
There probably is. You're right. Yeah.
Any of you guys ever seen this book?
What is it?
Oh, yeah,
I on the internet. I don't have it. I'd like to read it.
You got it, Benny?
Wiley Carroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got it.
It's a pretty cool book.
But that goes all the way back to Dale Lee about those strike dogs. He had that one dog that wouldn't open up till it jumped it. So he knew if that dog barked, that it was jumped. It's nice to have a variety of pack, I think, and you really got to read your dogs and pay attention to your dogs. These guys that just buy dogs, I've always said this, and I've said this 1,000 times in here, when you get a puppy and you raise your puppy, and you'll learn that dog. If you just go buy dogs, I don't think you have a chance to really learn your dogs. You kind of learn what everybody else got.
There's you a Jaguar. Dan Bush.
Man, I just wanted to.
That's a pretty good
right,
book.
Benny?
Hey guys, I'm gonna have to hop off here. I'm getting extremely hungry, and I need to get home to my other dogs. So
hangry.
Thanks for having me
Sounds
on.
good.
It's been good chatting with you guys, and I'm gonna try to get on these more often. And yeah, I apologize to all of my subscribers on my Hound on the Run channel. I haven't put out any videos in like 3 months, so shame on me. I hit a low point, man. I'll be honest, and I got really tired of filming just the lowest of lows. I was gonna be making some very depressing videos, and I'm like, I'm not gonna put anybody through that. So I made a new policy. I'm only gonna film if there's something interesting happening, and luckily I had a lot of interesting things happen today. So yeah, you'll see a video from my hunt today coming
Oh,
out
good.
soon. So,
Nice.
I also have my dog box build video that I've been working on. I just have so much. It's too long. I need to cut it down. So, um,
Ah,
yeah, thanks for
make
having me
two
on, guys.
parts. Promote your book. Where do
Yeah,
we get it? What do
that's
you
an
called?
option.
Promote your
My
book.
book is
Promote
called
your book.
Cat Dog Chronicles. Yeah, Cat Dog Chronicles. It's on Amazon. If you go to my if you go to my YouTube channel, I think it's in the description somewhere on the profile page. The easiest way to get to it's through my Instagram page though. So if you go to my Instagram and hit the little link in my
Hound on the
bio
Run.
deal, Hound on the Run. Yep.
There you go.
Cool.
When you become
Well,
famous,
yeah.
#1 seller, remember us.
Yeah, don't forget.
In my mind, I'm already famous.
Be like me,
Thanks
famous
for
for
coming
the
on,
wrong
Nick.
I
reasons.
don't want to be famous,
Yeah.
right?
A picture in the post office don't count.
Yeah.
All
All right,
right,
guys. It's good
Nicholas.
talking to you.
Thanks
I'll
for
see you
coming
later.
by.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See ya.
Boom. Benny gets big all of a sudden.
Yep.
I got a question for you, Brett,
Uh-oh.
for either one of you guys. If you were out of dogs, you didn't have a dog out there to feed, and you wanted to start hunting again, how would you go about it?
I would
Where would you get dogs? I mean, would you
I
just
would
pick?
go over to Steve Smith's and I would clean his truck and fix him dinner and go to the grocery store for him and rub his back at night and try to get a dog from him. That's what I'd do.
I'll tell you what. I was at Steve's house. I don't know recently, and he had 3 hound pups on the ground. That anybody that has a hound that knows anything about a hound and didn't fall in love with any of those 3 pups really has no business having a hound. The conformation, absolutely every part of those pups were stand out on the verge of perfection.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that those dogs like that Steve, Larry, uh, that come from all that country. I guess, and they all go back to Goswick and some stuff like that. And they're just for lions. I mean, they're cat-minded, dry ground lion hounds. I mean, and you can get by with a lot of different stuff, but I believe to hit those old tracks and stay on them for so far and so long and grub it out, that just takes a kind of a special kind of dog, I think.
What if you were on a budget?
Well, that's why I was rubbing his back at night. I am on a budget.
No, but I mean for these other people, I just not everybody's wired like me, and my wife says that's really good, but I knew a bunch of these guys, and I was able to get into the genetic side of the deal with exactly what you're talking about, But at the same time, what if you're on a budget? I mean, these dogs aren't cheap.
No, no, and I mean, I think if you're trying to make your living at it, if you're going to go out and say, I'm going to guide lion hunters and I'm going to be a dry ground lion hunter guide, and you're going to buy some mules and try to hunt the dirt and try to give the whole experience. I, you'd be wise to go down to the bank and borrow some money and go find a good finished dog and try to buy him. Try to get one bought and then buy some well-bred pups to go with him or young dogs to go with him and try to keep your stuff together. And that would be the only way to go about it. But you'd have to figure out some way, unless unless you're like Chris and you're just independently wealthy. You,
Yeah, I was
you
just gonna go to the mule sale and buy me a $20,000 mule. I don't know what's so big deal about it. Then
man,
Brett can come rub my back.
there's a 20. I think I could get that mule for about $24,000, and I would just give my eye teeth to have that mule. But no go.
I think the best advice you could give someone wants to get in dogs, if they can't afford to go get a good dog, then they should wait. Not just take any pup. I've had guys. I just had a guy give me a dog that's been on 200 bear and 100 lions, and I took it so I could talk crap about him because I knew it was bullshit because it was a fat dog and his nails were 4 inches long. And I watched it chase deer this weekend, which is beautiful because I recorded it. So when I bump into this guy here in the next 2 months, because I know I will this summer, I'm gonna say, "Hey, you know Benny? He's gonna come stomp you. You're a liar." But I think if you can't afford, I understand getting into it. People giving you pups, and I've had clients. I have one, came hunted, I think it seemed easy. You just catch bears. So he got some pups, and I actually told him, no, I'm not giving you no dogs. You're not buying dogs. Just don't get in the dogs. Well, he got hold of someone else, got a dog, and he got 2 dogs, and he got too many. He just got rid of them because it's a lot of work. I think if you're a young lion, you want to be a young houndsman. If you want to get into it, young or old, go hang out with the houndsman for a while. Go hang out with one. Like you said, maybe work for him. He'll give you a pup if you're out there helping him and feeding his dogs, but know what it's going to take before you just go buy a dog and have nothing for it. And you might get lucky. I've heard stories of guys buying 4 dogs, $20,000 worth, 4 or 5 apiece, going out and losing them in a week, like all dying, just got bad spot. I think you should learn how to be a houndsman. Anybody can run dogs, but can you be a houndsman? You know what I mean? I think there's a big difference there because if you want to just go make money, then go run the snow and go buy some dogs and sell your hunts for 9,000. And you lose a dog, you buy another one. I guess. If you want to be a houndsman, like you got to know your dogs and learn to read your dogs. But I mean, just go hang out with somebody and see how hard it is to feed dogs in the winter and out in the snow and break ice and pain in the butt.
Well, their responsibility. There's no doubt about that.
That is, and you're not one dog. You're not just getting a pug that stays in the house. Shit's all over the floor. You're talking about a pack of dogs that you have to take care of. And then I just dump money on collars. When I first bought collars, I dumped money on collars. I had $3,000 worth of collars. I had Tritronics and Garmin. You lose a dog, you don't just lose a dog, you lose your collar sometimes. And what people don't also understand is vehicle maintenance. If you're going to run mules, even a buggy, those buggies, the cheapest one, the crappy welfare one is 15 grand. That's not going to last forever. There's a lot of expenses, not just dog food.
Oh yeah.
You really should go hang out with somebody.
But everybody has that. I think hanging out with somebody is a good idea. The reason I ask this is because there's a lot of people out there that, I did it the wrong way. Almost everybody does it the wrong way. And everybody that I've tried to help since then has continued to do the wrong way. And you look out in the yard and you've got either kennels or chains everywhere, and every tree's got drag marks around it from the chain. And, there's a bucket out there and a doghouse over here. And I've had as many as 16, 18 dogs at a time. And I only just happened to have one good dog, and it was by mistake. And if you stop and consider how much you get into a whole herd of dogs that still don't produce anything, I've told these people in the past, hey, get rid of all those dogs, and I'll help you find one old dog. And I'm not talking about an 8-year-old dog. I'm talking about a 10 and 11 and a 12-year-old dog.
Dog
And
trainer.
yes, and then spend the time. And I'm not talking about Saturday and Sunday. I'm talking about spend the time and get some of those younger dogs. And realistically, you're better off to get some younger dogs that haven't been messed with a lot of times. Because if you're getting a younger dog that somebody else has been messing with, they didn't like it for some reason. It wasn't doing what they wanted. They ran it on a bunch of barn cats, which to me doesn't produce any game. That just teaches them to raise barn cats or chase barn cats. And all you got to do is talk one time about, well, my dog chases barn cats, and you get one of these humane societies or ASPCA, one of them groups on you, and it's a felony almost everywhere now. So
Mm.
to go about it the right way, I told a young man up at Logan, New Mexico, um, I said, you need to get a good dog. And he had connections to Richard Dickerson. He ended up with a dog from Dickerson, an old dog that his brother-in-law or somebody got from Dickerson somehow. And that dog just got old before he had any chance to do anything with it, too old. And so I talked to Dickerson, and Dickerson said, I want to meet him. And when you get a houndsman, a true houndsman, they're not just trying to sell dogs. They want to know where their dog's going to go and how it's going to be treated. But Wesley bought that old dog from Dickerson, and he got rid of some of those other yahoos, and he kept some of them. And then I gave him a good dog just to use to make sure his old dog had help and wouldn't get killed. And Wesley had dogs as long as he wanted to have dogs, and he had top-notch dogs. There wasn't anybody in the country up there that caught any more lions than Wesley's dogs. And you can get my point is you can get as much money tied up in a bunch of junk as you can if you would just spend all that money once and find the
I,
right.
yep.
Don't get on the internet and find all these people that, it's just like, we'll get back to the genetics deal, which was one of my pet peeves. When people way back in the day were saying on that one group I was part of that every breeding is a 50-50 shot. I mean, well, then they don't have any business breeding hounds. It's not a crapshoot if you do it right. And it's the same way with getting the correct dogs. It shouldn't be a crapshoot. And if you would do it correctly, yeah, it's going to be one hickey instead of 20 little hickeys, but the outcome is the same. Whether you spend the money once or you spend a little bit of money 20 times, the outcome is the same. And then give that dog some genetic help, and then you'll be farther ahead of the game than all your neighbors trying to do it like I did it.
I think you get in a hurry. I think people get in a hurry and they want it now. Oh, they watch those videos of the hey guy out with a friend who catches a lion in in a mile, and they want it now, and they just get whatever dog they can because it looks easy, and then they end up with people. If anybody gives you a dog, it's probably no good. And
With
I've seen dogs work different with
Well,
different people.
I've given young dogs away. I
Mm.
mean, just to people I know that need a dog, and or they're starting, and but it's always with the even the ones I sold quite a few young dogs this last year, but it's always to guys that I trust to get back to me and tell me how they're doing. I mean, I want to know what's going on, and
But Benny said the most important thing, and it's 100% top notch, is time. Even if you get a top notch dog and you don't run them but 5 times a year, how good is that
well,
dog
yeah,
gonna just still be? You know what I mean?
You no longer have a dog.
No, like I don't think people understand if you're not running dogs 3 times a week. If your dog sit for a couple months, everybody's had dogs sit for a couple months, and you get them out there and it's real Western. They have to line them back out. You could tell the difference from a dog you run. If you take one dog, run it, say every weekend, just on the weekends. and then you take that same dog and you run it 2 times a week, you'll see a performance difference that 2 times a week. You take that dog and run it 3 times a week, and you'll see that dog change. You can tell a dog that's been ran a lot and a dog that comes out on the weekends.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Well, and we're talking about dry conditions because the
Mhm.
snow hunting is not as volatile. But you
Yeah.
know, you talked about somebody that'll give a dog away. It just depends on that situation too. I was living in Springerville, working for some people on the Blue for a year and a half, and I had a couple of young dogs with me. I had a dog that I got from Roland Rice, and Roland had those good dogs that went to his father Blue, and Terrell Shelley was their neighbor, and so they traded some dogs back and forth. And I thought, well, here I'm gonna get some different bloodlines, but this dog was not going to screw down on a lion track. She just flat was not going to screw down on a lion track. But she was long legged. She was built like a greyhound. Loved to hunt. And so I had that dog with me in Springerville, and I got to asking around, and there was a guy in Eager, Rocky Adair was his name, and he was a bear hunter, and I mean a hardcore bear hunter. And so I found out where he lived, and I went over to his house, and he was getting ready to go bear hunting for 2 weeks over at Snow Lake, New Mexico. And I said, told him who I was, and told him what I had, and I said, he asked how much do I want for this dog, and I said, I just want my dog to go somewhere where they'll use her and hunt her. She's a good dog, and she'll make a top-notch bear dog. Well, have you ever run around bear? No. Well, then how do you know? Well, it gets back to, do you know your dogs? Do you know the game? Do you know the conditions? Do you know the abilities? And so I I finally almost bullied him into taking this dog and trying. And I said, I'll go get her and let you look at her. And I got back to his house and dropped the tailgate and opened the dog box. And I said, here, Rose, come here. And she nonchalant came out of the box, stood there on the tailgate. I said, here, unload. And she was in shape. She was lean. She was ready to hunt. She had well mannered, she was a good mannered dog. And Rocky said, I was expecting a real big fat dog that wasn't going to be able to do anything. I said, that's not keep my dogs. And she's well mannered. She's not spastic. I said, no, I'm telling you. I said, if you don't like her, give her to someone. She's going to make a hand. And so he finally took her, and he left that afternoon to go bear hunting. And he said that they didn't hunt that dog. He had her 4 years after that before she finally got killed, but they almost never hunted that dog because she was so much what they were looking for that they raised pups out of her every single heat.
Hmm.
But the dogs matter, and everything's not a 50-50 crapshoot if you go about it right. And Brett, where did you get dogs? I mean, you started with all kinds of stuff, and how did you end up with the dogs that you've got now?
I got lucky. I just got lucky. I didn't know what I was doing, and oh, those dogs came from the Davis Mount, or what was his name, Benny?
Oh, from you got that? You got a
Ralph
dog from
Ralph
him?
Donahue.
Ralph. Okay, and Ralph had connections in the down there in Texas.
Yeah, and one was old Colorado. They called him Colorado Bo, and then Susie was the one that went back to all
You
the.
had Susie for a while?
Yeah, I that's where all my dogs came out of. Susie, uh, uh, Solo,
Susie was
Blackie, and Trip came out of Susie, and
okay.
Blackie died on me. I sold Trip to that uh, guy over there in Capitan that hunted with Tommy White. I can't remember his name now.
Yeah.
And what?
On Milton.
Yeah, Don Milton, and then Solo, and I had the litter of pups. Oh, I crossed Solo with Lily. Lily came from Jeff Shaw, and that's where
Back to
Booger.
Newt.
What's that?
And that stuff went back to Newt through
Yes.
Marlon Horton.
Yes. It was all that old fashioned dry ground lionhound stuff. So out of Lily, I had P and Booger. I think she had 8 puppies, and I kept P and Booger, and then Ty Hare and Mike Bincy. Ty had just came back from Texas, and he took like, I think he bought 2 pups from me, and then there was another guy that was outfitting over there, and he bought some pups from me. And Ty, when that guy went out of business, Ty went and got his dogs from him. And of course, Mike got those dogs from me. And then I kept P and Booger. And then I crossed Booger. No. I crossed Solo with Jazz. And Jazz I got from you. So Jazz goes back to your stuff, and I guess some Larry Hendricks stuff, and that old fashioned stuff. So so that gave me what I call the terrorists: Uno, Al, and Timmy. And of course, I still have Jazz, and I got Booger and P. And then here lately, I've been messing around with crossing some of that good South Texas running walker. I got some that are a quarter and some that are an eighth. And there's, jury's still kind of out on that. I really like what they do. I like the way they hunt. I'm not totally convinced about their nose. I mean, it's like when we were talking with Cody King. I think they all, the nose, the cold nose and everything is a dog has a nose that's as good as he wants to use it. I think a lot of that's just mental or in their brain. But those dogs, those old fashioned, like the way P and Booger are bred. I mean, they just want a cold trail. I mean, they want to just work a track, and P will absolutely make you frustrated because she'll trail and trail and trail and trail.
That's God. That's my dirty dog.
When I got that Tom on Tenuco here several years ago, and I got the videos. I'm with the BLM biologist, and we're out there and we're trailing that lion 3 days before I caught him. And you can see that mountain in the background, and she's trailing across the greasewood. And it probably took her 30 minutes to go 15 feet, but she wouldn't leave that track. I mean, she just work it and work it and work it and work it. And you could see Tenuco in the background. And that's where that old Tom lion, he was cutting across the country. He was going to that mountain. And I didn't know, I didn't have enough faith, I guess. And I left to go to another ranch. And then that's when I got the phone call, said, hey, we got a lion up here. And I went that day and caught him. It was a big Tom. But it's amazing when you get, like you said, those genetics and everything, the way they want to, that cold trailing, that really wanting to work an old cold track. And I don't know, I haven't had any experience with anything else, so I don't know how many people actually know what that looks like.
Well, here's a question: is can you have? What's
How
that?
would you go, Chris? You've got contacts and you've been around the circles a little bit. What would you do?
I live closer to Steve Smith than Brett does, so I'll be rubbing his back before he got there, and his feet. I don't got the contact you guys do. I'd probably have to call you guys and say, "Hey, you know anybody?" And I would love. My dogs came from Andy Salazar and Tim Salazar's line, and they were good lines. I got the one dog. My cousin knew him. Gave him a pup. I ended up another guy had another part of that line. the newer line. I ended up with that pup. I had Scooter and Cece, and they did great for me. And then I got Luke. I didn't know where Luke came from. He came from New Mexico, is all I know. My cousin got him. Didn't know who or what, but he was my best dog. He was my best dog. Lion and Bear, uh,
That's
Rig.
that
Hey,
dog I let go, Luke.
yep, that's probably the dog I ended up with. But so I bred him and my CC dog. Went down to Tano Basin on a lion hunt for a cancer kid, and a javelina hunter ran Luke over.
Jeez.
So I literally had to start like I had to start over again. Go outside. It's raining outside. My dog don't want to go outside. And so I had to start over again. I had no rig dogs and I just had to work it again. If I lost, I would love right now to get a good dog. I'm like you guys. We just all I wanted to run hounds. I took whatever I could get, you know. I would love to run a good dog. I think I talked to Nicholas about it today. Is you you don't know you have a bad dog till you get a good dog, you know. And one
Yeah,
just like a vehicle, just like a
sure.
wife, anything. You don't know you have a bad girlfriend till you get a good girlfriend. You don't know you have a bad vehicle till you get a one that starts every time. And then you're like, wow, like he just did. He said, wow, man. And if you can get an old dog and get some good pups, and it'd be a lot easier to train. Me, I would probably just make some calls and try to call you guys and say who has dogs, and like you said, it's better to spend the money first than to waste 10 years of your life trying to make something. You know, because I think if you have an older dog that works and it's a good dog, you know what to look for then. That's why I say go hunt with somebody. Go hunt with somebody that has good dogs and see what you need to look for.
Yeah.
It always reminds me of, and if you're really like Dale Lee said that one time, he goes, Ben Lilly came over, pointed at a dog and said, that's going to be a good one. And it was the worst looking one. And it ended up being their best dog. Why? Because he paid attention to dogs, I guess, you know? And I think we're so out of tune with us now as society, it's hard for us to even see that in an animal anymore, you know?
I don't know what it is about dogs, but the the first time I met Larry Hendricks, I think I told you guys at one point that Rick Dickerson gave my son a pup, and it went back to Steve Smith stuff, and he said, "Now that's not your dad's pup, that's your pup." Well, that's true, but it's in my kennel, so I get the use of the deal. And for once, I knew that I had genetics. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that I had top-notch genetics that went somewhere. And so I started asking around, and I made all those phone calls to all those people. And everybody kept saying, "You need to go see Larry Hendricks. You need to go see Larry Hendricks. You need to go see Larry Hendricks." I think Karen Holcomb was the last one. Benny, why don't you just go see Larry? Larry will help you. And so I found out where Larry lived, and I left in the middle of the night and drove for 7 hours. And I got to his house at 7 o'clock in the morning and introduced myself. Told him that we had people, friends, common friends. And he said, "Who?" And so I gave him a list of names just so that I got clearance, security clearance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what started my friendship with Larry. But he said, well, after 2 or 3 hours sitting there at the house, he was more or less interviewing me. He finally said, well, let's go look at my dogs. And he showed me every dog he had. I don't know if there was 22 or 23 dogs. And he says, now, out of all those dogs, if I said you could breed that little dog to any of my dogs, which one would it be? And I said, this one over here. And he said, why? I said, well, I like the way he carries himself. I like his attitude. He says, well, I'm just curious because that's my best dog. So there's got to be something if you spend enough time with the dogs And if it's not about killing a bear, if it's not about killing a lion or a bobcat or coatis or somebody, your neighborhood cat or whatever it is, you can learn about the dogs and you can become a houndsman. But that part does take time.
Hmm. That's a fact.
Here you go. This is out of that same book. He says, free casting dry ground lion hounds is an art form. The price you must pay to become a master houndsman cannot be measured in any world currency. Many that reach peer approved status are studies in tragedy, insofar as their personal lives are concerned. The absolute peak is probably unattainable, but some of us reject this premise and keep trying.
That's a fact. You just want to do it, and I think to be a houndsman, you're kind of stubborn in the first place, and you're kind of a loner in second. We're not very sociable people. We like, especially a lion hunter. Bear hunter is a little different. Them lion hunters, those dry ground lion hunters, they're not running around with. They're not doing circles with 10 people. They're doing circles with somebody in their family or one of their good friends.
Here you
And
go.
even when they're doing circles, you're camping out, and one goes one way and one goes the other.
He
That's
says,
true.
he said, I awoke to the sound of a hound's long, pure bawl. It was a crisp fall morning. I was 11 years old. My grandfather explained to me that some animal had passed in the night, and the hound was trailing the animal's scent. I asked how they learned to do such a thing. He answered, it's a gift they are born with. I began reading all I could acquire on the subject, which led me to Boone, Crockett, Lilly, and the Lee brothers. As time passed, I learned that the path these men followed was always the least traveled. As years passed, I was privileged to be mentored by some of the greatest lion hunters that ever lived. I learned they possessed knowledge that I had never read about. If questioned, they seldom had words to explain their acts. To learn from them, you had to follow them down those least traveled paths. Man, does he tell it like it is or what?
Something like that, Brett. Everybody needs to read something like that and take it to heart. You know, when I finally got this, the last time I started, I went a few years without dogs. And when I decided to go about it again, and even now I haven't had dogs for a while and I miss it bad. I mean, bad, bad. And so when I did it the last time, I decided I was going to do it right and I wasn't going to burn a bunch of money that was unnecessary. And so I had enough, I had created a network of all these other people that when something happened that didn't make sense to me or I didn't know how to address it, I was the first one on the phone, whether it was late at night, early in the morning, or anywhere I could get a phone signal. Hey, what the heck is going on? And I had two dogs that were trained, but they were 3 years old. And when you take them out of the packs that they were trained with and tell them now you guys are in charge at 3 years old, and they got a bunch of yapping pigs behind them that are 6 months to 18 months, you're looking for a train wreck. And people don't understand then, well, we just spent, 2.5 years getting those dogs trained. They should be out there producing something, and they trail and trail and trail and trail. My dogs were in as good a shape as anybody's dogs ever could be. I had a ranch in the Guadalupes and we were going and going and going and going and going. But there's something that's overlooked that's not talked about that much is these dogs didn't have the oh what's the word I'm looking for? They weren't sure of themselves. I can't think of the word I need to
They didn't
use.
have yeah, like the self confidence or the.
They didn't have the confidence that they could really do it. And so one day we stumbled onto a young lion and they put it up a tree. And from that day forward, I had a pack of lion dogs that knew they could do it on their own. I just had to take them out there and make circles. And, you know, that's all it takes. But it makes it sound easy. But I
Well,
don't know
what
how
what
many. Go ahead.
what's the percentage of the dog? to the handler do you put that on to make that dog? Yeah, you got your genetics, but genetics don't mean crap if you don't have a good handler, if you have a bad handler, right? So what's your
Yeah,
percentage you think? 50-50, or you got 75% dog that can do it and then that 25% that gives them that confidence?
I don't know because I don't think there's that many people left that hunt like Brett and I hunt. I don't think there's that. Everybody wants to get on a buggy. Everybody wants to drive a
Everybody,
road.
e-
Everybody to send
e-
them a picture.
everybody's
Uh,
got smarter.
Well, yeah, that's true. But and that gets back to what I said initially. I did it for the dogs, not for the dead lion.
Yeah.
well, you know what ruined it too is cameras.
Sure.
You know,
Well, yeah.
I mean, even not a cell camera, just a camera in general. Because if you're checking your camera every 3 days, let's say, you know that line's been in there in the last few days, and you know probably which way it's going to be heading, you know, or guess. But I think cameras just took it away. Uh,
Uh,
social
Now,
media took some of it away.
I got to jump in here. I like to have some game cameras because not so much to cheat, but it gives me it has given me an education on, you know, how the dogs react to certain conditions or certain tracks, certain age of tracks, stuff like that. Where used to, a lot of times, I was just kind of guessing. And it really opened my eyes to some things that's possible that you never thought was possible before. Because you hear guys will, say certain things about how old a track a dog will run or trail. And I know, I mean, I've trailed 3-day-old tracks. I know there's guys think that's crazy, but I've trailed through cameras where I had them. I mean, and I watched it.
Yeah,
And now I never caught the lion, but I got to trail all day and I was
it's
pretty
a
happy.
it's a great tool, just another tool in the
Yeah.
bag. You know,
Now the cell
everything your
phone
buggy.
cameras, now guides and outfitters using cell phone cameras to kill a lion for a client. I don't know.
That's your livelihood.
I might, I might disagree with that. Thinking that's you know, might be
Unfair
cheating a tear,
chase.
might be taking a lot of the sport out of it. Maybe I don't know. I guess
Can
it's
we can we go on a limb and say, just for argument's sake, maybe that's a semi-canned hunt?
and a lot of our old time heroes did canned hunts. I
Okay.
I I mean I I heard a lot about it. It's
You know
you,
what? You're gonna a lot. I'm gonna tell. I talked about this week with Jared and the Texans, but people don't know what you're talking about when you say a canned hunt. I
well,
bet you a lot of people don't.
a canned hunt is where the old lion hunter's gone out there and he's hunted for 20 days straight and finally caught a lion. He roped him, tied him up, and put him in a cage, and
With
the
a
hunter
55
shows
gallon
up.
barrel.
The hunter shows up next week, and his buddy goes out there, and I even know guy, man,
Be careful.
getting in.
Be careful.
Uh, uh, I know guys who are doing. I know a guy who was doing bear hunts that was putting out bait, which was illegal in New Mexico, and salting the bait and drugging the bears, so they
Oof.
couldn't run as hard. Now,
Lethargic. Lethargic.
yeah, you
Lethargic.
got an old drunk bear out there that can't hardly move, but
Little roofies.
yeah, they drug them. But also, I mean, but back then you get some hardcore lion hunters like I'm not going to mention any names because I don't want they're dead and gone, but I don't want to talk bad about the dead. But
Tarnish.
you get an old roly-poly guy from back east that doesn't know how hard it is to get around out here and can't sit on a mule all day long, and they come out and they want to kill a lion. This guy has a lion ready to be killed. I mean, he's already done all the hard work, and
Hmm. Cut the rope and tree him again.
yeah, and maybe even sedate him a little bit so he can't run very far,
Hmm.
or starve him down for a few days, where he's not
There's
had anything to eat and he hasn't drank, and then he's not going to run that hard.
there's people who shoot them in the foot today, these days, present times. They'll tree them, shoot them in the foot, and go run them again when their client gets there.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line in between what's sporting and what's, we all agree that shooting one in the foot or a canned hunt is not sporting, but then what's the difference between running a cell phone camera and we shouldn't get into that because we'll just make people mad.
Yeah. There's people in Arizona that can't hunt no more because of that cell phone stuff. I don't want to mention no names, but you know what I mean? And it is unfair chase if per law, but those guys are making a living. I'm not trying to make a living. I can go not get a lion. Like, it don't matter to me.
But then again, in all honesty, I ran a lion off a cell phone camera 2 weeks ago. It was on private land. You're allowed to use a cell phone camera on private land. I didn't, and I went out there. I was 16 hours behind the lion, and I never got a bark. I trailed it probably 2.5 miles by sight, but it's across the alkali flat, and just some old salt. There wouldn't even no weeds grow out there. It's just salt cedars, and it was a little lion, but it was a lion. Old Al was the only dog that ever barked. Booger and Al were the only dogs that barked on that track. But
you didn't go home and try to commit suicide because you didn't get a lion. You went out there because you wanted to go run the dogs. That's the difference. Someone making money, and that's why the guys hunt snow. That's why all these units in Arizona that are in the snow right now are closing down. Springerville, Alpine, they got one more lion left, I think.
Me and that kid started it's a kid that I gave him 3 dogs, and he's an intense little dude, and we went out there and he met me out there, and they're the ones who have the private property, and we finally figured out where that lion was going. I found the track and I had him drive the buggy around. I think I told this story before, but anyway, I walked across through there and I trailed that lion by sight and with the dogs, and we got up there and we got up into a little rock deal, and I had a couple dogs bark a little bit on him, but we couldn't trail him. And he was excited and got up there, and I said, well, Colton, I stole this from the book. I said, Colton, we got him trapped now. He said, you do? And he said, yeah. He got all excited. I said, he's trapped between Texas and Arizona. We got him in here somewhere. He just shook his head. And
you didn't find it so funny.
And then that was from daylight until dark, and not on a mule. And we walked those little, I'd say, man, that lion's got to be up here on this bluff somewhere. And we'd walk up there, and we never could figure out where that lion went. But I told him at the end of the day, I said, that's lion hunting. That's dry ground lion hunting. We hunted all day long, and we never got any closer to that cat than we were this morning. Or at least it didn't feel like we did.
George Lampert, do you see that? The answer to Chris's percent question, I think each dog is different percentage. Some dogs need more help than others, and some good handlers can catch game with less experienced dogs. That's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's true.
Some dogs take a lot of, you can get it, go get it. Some dogs are like gone.
I think it was Lel Lee that said sometimes you have to be your own best hound.
That's a fact.
Yeah. If you look at this book right here, and there's so much good stuff in this book. Let me see if I can find that. Where he hey, did you know a John Klein, Benny?
Yes.
Now, Steve speaks very highly of him.
You know what's wild? Steve Smith and Larry Hendricks and me all started our lion hunting on that same place.
John Klein's.
Yep. Now Steve and Larry did it together, and I did it way after the fact. But um, that's a ranch right there north of Phoenix, just past what's New River.
Oh, like Bloody Basin area.
Yeah, but it's on I-17,
Yeah.
and it goes over there on the east side of the highway.
Oh, that's blood. Isn't that Bloody Basin?
Well, Bloody Basin is farther back in there,
Oh, I
28
got
miles.
you. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep. That's that. Isn't that where
I've
that
hunted
was that?
in,
Tee up, tee down ranch.
yeah, they called it the Tees. That's where I started my. That's the very first place that I ever worked cattle too, and I've ridden that country all the way from New River north to Black Canyon City, east to just under the skyline of the Matazels, and then I've gone up the Verde River as far as Childs.
Isn't that where that
Really,
Clear Creek runs through? That big it has big bluffs, like 300, 500 foot drop offs to the east
all the
on the east.
countries that way.
Well, I mean, it's like it's sheer cliff on both sides. Like there's no
Yeah,
getting down it. Is that Clear Creek to the east of that? There's a
Clear
big,
Creek. Yeah, I think that's farther east. That's up
yeah.
more towards on Rim, Pine and Strawberry, and up in that country around the East Verde and all of that.
There's some big cliffs right there too, off the I-17 north, and then there's a little creek that runs through there actually before you get down there. I hunted with the guy over there, and the guy would. I first got my GPS, and he had telemetry, and he would tell me how far his dogs were. I would look at my GPS, and he would look at his little beeper and say they're like 300 yards. I'd look down, and they'd be 300 yards. They'd be 800 yards. He'd say, they're like 800 yards. I'm like, what? I look at my GPS, and sure as heck, them dogs would be anywhere from 800 yards. He was good on that telemetry. So that's a
And
lost
Yeah,
art.
when
That's
I
a
had
lost art
when I
right
had
there.
my telemetry in those big canyons up by my camp, I chased beep. Seemed like for days. That
Ricochet.
come down that canyon, you'd
Oh,
think it was terrible.
just around
And
the corner. It's just around the corner.
the only comforting thing is you got that beep beep beep, and you knew your dog was around here somewhere. You might not know the direction, but you knew he was around there.
As long as he was still moving, you're good at least.
I still every now and then I'll strap a beep beep collar on a dog.
I got to get my magnet. I got to get my batteries done on mine. It's just good backup.
I mean, my problem is after talking to Cody and listening to Cody drive 16, 18 hours for a lion track is, man, I just got lazy. I enjoy going out and riding a big circle in the desert, but it's not very productive, even for just trailing. So I need
Yeah.
to I
Get
need
some
to,
good country.
yeah, I need to break away and get into some good country and take some time and go, and I can still hit this and, make a circle in here every now and then but go, I can drive an hour and 30 minutes and be in really good lion country. And I don't know. I just haven't done it.
And as a loner as we are, it's still nice to go hunting with people. Even if you go different directions in the morning, it's kind of nice to sit around a campfire. Don't give me that face. It's still nice to have some company.
I kind of like my own company for the most part.
That's because no one else wants to hang around you.
My wife,
Brett, someday give you a tour, and there's
do,
lions.
what's that?
Come over here. I'll give you a tour, and there's lions.
What about that broke off wilderness?
Leave that alone. That's too barren.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cut like terrain wise, dog
What?
wise, blue.
That's probably about like what I'm hunting here. What?
There's lions there, but they're not resident lions.
Passer throughs, just kind of passing
Yeah.
through.
How about west of there?
Yeah, you can go off into Texas, but
No,
good luck.
not east, west.
That's what I said. East of there.
No, I said
East.
west.
Yeah. So you go west and you're going to get into Texas within
No.
west of the Brokoffs?
Yes.
Yeah, you dump them to Del City.
West of anywhere. Oh, you're talking about southwest. Well, let's talk northwest.
Well, then you're going to get up there by Pinon and you're going to get
Yeah.
into all of that. And there's more productive country that's easier to get around.
And where's that
Listen, then he said don't go there, and he just rubbed his head.
at? He's fixing to
means he-
stomp me, I think. I'm
I was gonna
scared.
say, I didn't want to say the S word so early.
Don't get anything started. I'll have to go
No.
into hiding for a week or two.
The Guadalupes have a lot of lions.
And I don't know them. I need a guide.
That's what those buggies are good for. You run around,
You learn the
look
country.
at everywhere, check it out, and then go hide. I'm sure you can find someone good over there, Brett. Somebody.
Yeah.
There got to be somebody over there.
I've heard rumors.
Hey, Benny, who's over there that's good?
You know, it was really good for years and years when I was underneath a rock. I had the Guadalupes to myself unless it snowed. And it snowed and I didn't go. I went one time and tagged a lion and got into it with the game warden, and I never went to the snow again. But it was really.
Let me explain something about Benny. You know what his nickname is, don't you? Tulip.
Oh,
I started calling him Tulip because when he came up and hunted with me in the mountains up there, it was cold. I mean, it was cold up there. In the wintertime, I mean, it gets really cold up there. And I thought he was going to freeze to death. And I said, man, you're like a tulip. I said, if it gets cold, you just wilt. And you're like a flower.
you don't like that cold.
No. I thought I was going to have to carry him out of there. I had to put him in the camper because I lived in a camper at that time. I put him in the chair and I had a little wave heater in there. It just kept the chill off. But then I had a portable little heater that ran off a generator. I started the generator and put it underneath there and thawed him out. He was miserable, absolutely miserable.
Yeah. I offered never back there again.
Never came back. He never came back up there again.
No.
Cold.
Too cold. I offered to go in the summer.
What's that, Chris?
No, go ahead. You offered to go in the summer when it was nice and warm?
Yep.
We went down and caught a lion later on that year. I think it was the same year.
Yeah.
Timothy Brink, Brad, how did you learn the country you hunt now? I just started going and started riding. We got lots and lots of BLM, lots of public land. And it's not real productive country. I mean, if you look, they got records. I mean, there's only been like, I think since for the last 15 years, there's only been like 4 lions taken out of there, and they've trappers, I think, caught 2, and I've caught 2. But oh well, no, 3, something like that. Anyway, yeah. And then the country, when I was up there in the mountains, I spent a lot of time. I mean, those dogs at that time I had Bo, Susie wasn't bad, but Bo and those three, uh, Blackie and Solo, and then they'd run bears. And so I spent a lot of time looking for dogs because it's all roadless country. You had to ride a mule. And so when you're running bears in the wilderness like that, you spend a lot of time looking for dogs and you learn the country though. Because I think I could hear the dogs up there. I'd have beep on them. Back then we just had the beep beep, and I would, say, oh, they're up there, and take off up a canyon. You get bluffed up, then you try to get up the side of a ridge, and then, after a while you'll start finding, some of those old cowboy trails and game trails, but a lot of old cowboy trails, and they go through places where you can get. Let's see. Here we got someone mad at us. Here we go. It's what we've been wanting. Why do you guys talk so much shit on snow hunters? Dogs in North Idaho can catch lions in snow, frozen ground, or dirt. And the dogs have to be gritty, navigate rough terrain, frigid temps. By golly. He said it all right there. You're right.
Because we've never had a snow hunter come on here and say anything.
Yeah. Major gains and losses of elevation.
It's
there
tough.
You go.
That frozen snow is tough on their feet. Yeah, temperatures.
Don't get your feelings hurt. We don't mean any disrespect.
We just don't want to be in the cold snow. I just told those hunters. I went down to South Arizona and they wanted to come up to Springerville. It is snow, and I said some of those roads are closed. I said I'd rather spend my time running around the desert, not finding a track, than digging myself out for 5 days. At least when you're running around, you're still hunting.
Did you see that video of that guy on the horses and pack mules and had the dog boxes on the pack mules going up through that snow that's like 14 inches deep? I got all the respect in the world for somebody like that. Jeez.
Listen,
I caught pneumonia just watching him.
Mr. Espinoza, you can keep the snow. I'll take the dirty, dry, dusty desert. I just enjoy the desert more than I do snow. I don't.
Benny likes to hunt in his Speedos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shaves his chest and back and everything.
But, I mean, how can I put this without...
Just say it. They're already having a damn meltdown. Let them just have a meltdown.
When you talk to, I'm not saying it's from me because I don't know anything about hunting snow. I really don't. We got a little bit of snow up there at my camp, and when we did, it probably hurt the trailing conditions more than it helped it because it started melting out so fast. You rarely did we have 2 or 3 days of snow cover to be able to really use it. But, and there's no way you can deny this. As a matter of fact, I'll send you a link if you want to get on here and talk to us about it. But if you're looking for a lion and you got snow, one of the hardest parts of lion hunting is finding the lion. Well, you guys drive in roads for miles and miles. You cut a lion track. We don't have that option. We have to ride around till the dogs strike on one, and then try to figure out which way he's going and what's going on.
And he's in North Idaho. That's some major snow. I'm not saying it's easy for a dog to run through 3-4 feet of snow, but even when you're driving around down in the desert, I drove this week. You're looking for a 3-inch print in the thousands of acres on the side of a road. When you're running through snow, you can see that track way down the road, way out there. But I just don't like. I like hunting the desert.
And I had guys, I don't know anything about it, but from talking to our old time heroes, I would say, if you was to talk to Henry McIntyre or Steve Smith or any of those guys and said what, that same comment, they'd have just hung up on you or whatever. They wouldn't even pay attention to you. That's
My question to Nicholas is: have you ever hunted the desert? Not in Idaho desert. I'm talking South Arizona, New Mexico desert, Texas. Like, have you ever hunted that?
Here you go. Now we're getting somewhere. This was covered a couple weeks ago about how my dogs wouldn't do as good in the desert and Brett's dogs. At the same time, Brett's dogs wouldn't do as good in the Pacific Northwest as mine. Probably not.
It's acclimation.
Mm.
Acclimation. It's just that simple. And just because we're talking about, I only went hunting in the snow one time. Well, let me tell you what, my dogs didn't know what to do. I had to get my lead dog out and poke his nose down in the track. And it took me 15 minutes to get that dog sorted out where he would even try to trail in the snow. It's a completely different environment. And just because we hunt the dirt doesn't mean we're bad mouthing everybody that hunts the snow. If
No.
that's what, then go hunt. But I can tell you this: hunting the snow is not near as challenging as hunting the desert in the dry conditions. And if anybody wants to get their knickers all knotted up, load your dogs up and get your tent and get your butt out there and hunt in the desert.
Well, he answered. He said he don't leave North Idaho. Plus, I don't want to lose a dog to rattlesnake.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Oh,
There's no rattlesnakes in the snow. I guarantee it.
but I,
You know.
this is one of those deals where people get all wound up, and it's not that we're bad mouthing anybody for the way they hunt. We just don't hunt that way. And the challenge is in the dirt. Period. It's a challenge.
I think it's just different. I mean, it's just so different. It's, I don't know. It's
It's
just,
a lot.
yeah. I
You
mean,
know what? How many times does Nicholas go out in the snow, find a track, catch a lion, to somebody who goes out in the desert, finds a track, catches a lion? So if you took 10 tracks in the desert, ran your dogs on it, to his 10 tracks in the snow, is his success rate going to be a lot higher than ours? Maybe not in 3-4 foot snow, but if either way, a fresh track's a fresh track. Even in the desert, some of that stuff, when they hit those washes, whether it's a 10-minute track or not, it's hard to trail on that. Might as well just trail through cat litter. You know what I mean? Like, at least with the snow, you can walk a track out. The desert,
Well, when a lion
it's
makes
hard.
a lose, when a lion walks back on its tracks or does any numerous things that they learn how to do, when it's in the bare ground, it's up to the dogs to sort it out. When it's in the snow, you can help your dogs a whole lot more.
It's easier to help your dogs, I guess, because you can see things better.
Sure.
I don't know. I don't.
I mean, listen, we're always right and everybody else is wrong. I don't know why they can't get that through their heads.
And Benny
We're
will
the
enforce it with
better
a good
hunters.
stomping.
We're the better hunters, and we got Benny to back it up. Come on down, Nicholas. Look, did you not see the part where he had a spear?
Well, let me block him. No.
You
But
better
we
I
not
have,
give us
don't
a thumbs
we don't
down.
want this to become by. We've made more enemies tonight. Old Susan Stone was mad at us
I
because we were
know.
talking about Facebook. Now Nicholas is mad at us because he feels like we're disparaging
I don't.
snow
I don't think.
hunters.
Yeah, I don't think we ever mean no disrespect. It's just
No, it's all
everybody's
legal. Do what
different.
you do.
Yeah.
Hunt how you feel best about.
Hey, that's his terrain. That's what he can hunt.
I have always encouraged people to come to the desert and give it a whirl. And I know that hunting the snow isn't the same because, like I said, the one time that my dogs caught a lion in the snow, it wasn't just turn them loose and they knew what was going on. I had to walk them through the process.
I don't know. I don't. Oh, no. What does he mean?
I don't.
Explain.
I don't think. I don't think Nicholas is. I don't think he's trying to be. I think he's just kind of talking shit about us talking shit.
He's poking
We
us. He's
still-
poking Benny.
we
He
still-
poked
yeah,
Benny.
You better stop it. You better stop it.
Where's your spear, Benny?
My first
And then you
wife
got
was-
and then you got Uncle Papa Johnny talking crap.
Oh, look at him.
Yeah,
He's teasing us.
that's a sorry. Look at mine. Brett, we've been on for 2.5 hours.
I know. It's gone on and on. I'm going to have to.
People don't get off, so we just keep talking.
I'll have to edit this way down. I got to get rid of all of our Facebook talk.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was it.
before it goes on the big podcast world.
Yeah.
But
you need to give a shout out to your other backers as well.
oh,
yep.
look
You
at
play your little
we
video.
got 64 people in here. Good.
Play your video.
I am. I'm going to.
It's the drama, Brett. It's the drama. It's the drama.
It's the drama.
Support. Hey, Onyx Maps. Use 100 years. Get 20% off.
I used it
And-
all week.
Support our channel. See, 100 years, 20% off. Wait a minute. I'm still waiting for my dog box from Old South Dog Boxes.
Yes. Where is it? It must be a good one. It must be a good one.
It's got to be good because it's taken a
Hey,
while.
maybe you should poke a little fun and they'll speed it up a bit.
I don't think they even know that we're here in this world. They just told me they'd give me a discount. So here you go. Those are good pads. And I got the cowboy bedroll. Good stuff. Always wanted one. I got a better hat than that guy though. Good stuff. I've been using their stuff for a long time. And he sent me some of these panniers, right? No, the big panniers. I throw a better hitch than he does too.
Great. Here comes somebody else online gonna talk crap.
Uh-oh. Let's see, Johnny, send that picture of that lion I sent you to Brett so I can ask him about that mouth thing. What's going on with the lion's mouth? Guys, that was it. We went on forever. There's a bunch of crap in the middle that we probably shouldn't have talked about, but oh well.
But we had to. Yeah.
We just have
Don't
fun.
be a baby.
I don't want to
Don't be a baby on the internet. You be a baby on the internet. We're
yeah.
gonna talk about it.
laugh and have fun.
Either go beat each other up, or just shut up. We'll send Benny. Telling you.
Benny's got a spear and will travel.
Yeah.
And he ain't scared to stomp a snow hunter.
No, absolutely not.
Hey, as long as it's not in the snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to come down here to get stomped.
Yeah, we have fun and we don't. Chris and I talked about this before. You know, we get into it and you think, oh, you know, we need to have be organized and talk about this and talk about that and whatever. You know, it's not like that here. It's just a conversation. We're just talking, just
We did
like
organize.
we would anywhere. What do we organize?
I said, I'm gonna talk crap about that Facebook stuff. You said, yeah, let's do it.
Oh yeah. Well, you were supposed to give us a trip report, and I had to pull it out of you. You just see.
I don't know. I have a bunch of stories. Then we start talking about other stuff.
And you're going to have a video on
Yes, I'm
your
gonna make a
channel.
video. I'm editing it right now.
About-
5 days of riding and trying to catch this lion, and it was just one little lion in the area because the Jaguar ran it off. All of it.
Picture from Timothy Brink. What's going on? That looks like he has baby teeth. Probably got kicked in the mouth. Let me see if I can do this.
I just seen a picture on the internet where there was a hole in the head of a lion they just killed. A big hole in his head. crazy.
Make up a story.
About the hole in his head?
We'll show it to.
I think someone shot him from a distance and didn't go.
Oh, I know where it just jumped out of the barn loft into the tree, and he's after a song sparrow.
What we need to know? What question about this picture? Do you see it, Benny?
No, something about his mouth.
Man, he's a big old fat-headed thing, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could upset the sponsors, but if they get upset about that, it's tough.
We'll get more sponsors.
Yeah, like those sponsors.
What are we looking at?
This lion.
I know.
You can't see it? There's supposed to
I
be
can
some
see
kind of
it.
question about it.
That's what I'm
Something
saying.
Johnny, send
about
that
his-
picture of that
Oh.
lion I sent you to Brett so I
I've
can
never
ask him
treated a
about that
lion.
mouth thing.
That didn't close its mouth.
No, I've seen them
I've
like that.
Oh yeah, I've never seen one with his mouth closed. When they get mad, they're talking with their mouth open.
I've never treated a lion that didn't close his mouth. Well, how far did they run him? Maybe he's just panting.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, here's another question for, gosh almighty, we're letting this thing go on a long time. If acclimation key, do you think pups from different areas will turn out as good if raised in different areas, or have you seen certain bloodlines do better in certain areas? When you talk to Benny, Steve Smith, Larry Hendricks, those guys, I mean, they have that certain bloodline. I think it goes back to Goswick stuff, doesn't it, Benny?
More Lee brothers than Goswick.
Lee brothers, Goswicks, all that stuff for the dry ground, for the trailing in dry, tough conditions like that. There we go. I mean, snow can be tough conditions too, I guess. But
Giles Goswick had real cold trail, real cold nosed dogs. And when Giles was out of it and George took over, George didn't like those dogs standing on their head as much. So he bred a little bit of the nose out of them. So to get the real cold nosed dogs as consistently, and this will make a bunch of those guys mad that are big Goswick fans. And I hunted with George. I know George firsthand. And George had some good dogs. That's where Richard Dickerson bought his first dogs, was Georgia. They were good dogs, but they weren't as consistently cold nosed, real hard nosed, cold nosed dogs as some of the other dogs. And so, it just depends on which strain and which side of the fence they were on.
now, I think Warner Glenn, he doesn't have as cold a nosed dogs as those other guys,
No,
does he? He
No,
runs
he
a
doesn't.
warmer nosed dog.
hmm It'll be
Anyway.
interesting to corner in a couple years and find out about that one dog that he got from Knowlton.
From where?
Andy Knowlton.
Oh, yeah. Did Andy get his dogs from Hendricks?
That dog right there is out of some of the Hendricks strains, yes.
Yeah. Cool. This guy, here you go. World East versus Midwest. We have a lot fewer raccoons here in West Virginia. One thing I do know is that those guys over in Arizona that have a good population of lions and they have the dry, tough conditions, that's where the good dogs come from. I mean, it's where I'm at right now. It is hard to finish a dog. I keep them trailing. That's about all I can do.
That's my problem where I'm at. South of I-8 here. There's nothing down there.
Yeah.
And there's not many lions. There's not many lions at all.
All right.
Yep. Cut it, Brett. Cut it.
Concluders. Do you got anything to say, Chris, about your
Mm,
sponsors? You want to say something about your sponsors?
do I have sponsors? My wife lets me go out.
Benny, how about you?
No, we're good.
No one's on your stomping list.
Absolutely not. I'm unemployed now, and I'm sleeping better. I don't know if I'm gonna buy a cup of soup tomorrow or have to drink wiener water from
Wiener
wiener.
water. That don't sound right, Benny.
Please, someone send Benny some money so he doesn't have to
Just-
drink wiener water.
I've never even heard of that before.
Yeah. We'll save that for next Monday.
Get on Facebook and look up Res Report,
Res
and
report.
that guy, and he has wiener water soup.
Oh, there's even a soup. I'm not even going to ask what's in it. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you for coming by. I hope we didn't make anybody too mad. We don't we don't intend to make people mad. We just want to have a good time. So, all right, Lorax.
Come back next week. We'll be funnier.
Yeah. Bueno pues. Signing off.
All righty, guys.